Everybody, I'm Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli today. Mike with the day off. A couple of days off coming up for him, so I'll be in for him today, hanging out with you for the next 4 hours here on 97.5 The Fanatic. No Phils last night. Game postponed to tonight, doubleheader with the Padres, but we will begin with the Phillies. Plenty more to get into. The Sixers made a big move. They brought back a fan favorite. So excited to talk about that later, and I got some Eagles conversation I want to get into. But for the Phillies, a conversation we had yesterday, and somewhere where we began the conversation, but we didn't quite make the pivot I was looking for in it. And it was Bryce Harper and his health, because we had the whole back and forth with reporters before the game Monday night, and he mentioned that he had gotten to a standstill in terms of healing. There was some concern about where the wrist is at. And there was certainly some concern on this show yesterday from Mike about what it means for his long-term health and the long-term health of him and how it impacts this team going forward the rest of the way. And for some of you, you look at that concern and you say, well, if Harper's not going to be 100%, can I expect this team to go out there and compete for a World Series? And if I can't compete, if I can't really consider them to do that, how am I going to approach this trade deadline? Should the Phillies be less aggressive? Should the Phillies go, quote unquote, we love throwing this phrase around without actually giving it substance, all in? Should they go all in for this season? And should your concern over his health change the way they approach it? Go ahead and answer that one for you, because there's one thing it will change for me. But take a listen once again so that we all have the refresher on what Bryce Harper had to say to reporters before Monday night's game.
Bryce, ultimately, what went into your decision and why was it time for you to come back?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to take any other steps forward of feeling better or anything like that. I thought we were kind of at a standstill of it feeling the same the last couple of days, and from BP to live and things like that, kind of gave us the same results each day. So I thought today was a good one.
Is it something you're going to have to manage, though, in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine so. I'm not sure yet what that's going to feel like. So we're going to, as I go, I think, and as I know you guys will, and Tomper as well. So we'll see, how I feel tonight, tomorrow, and, go from there.
You said last year you played through it. Does it feel any better or worse than how you played through it last year?
Yeah, no, it feels better. It feels way better than where I was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or whatever it was. So I'm happy with where we are. Ultimately, it's going to come down to how I feel each day. If I need to take days off or figure those days off. I know we have Thursdays pretty much all the way till the middle of August off, so that'll be good for it. But I'm just not sure yet. We're gonna, like I said, it's kind of been at a standstill the last couple of days of feeling good. So hopefully it stays there.
Do you feel you can play at your best level, feeling the way you do now?
Yeah.
He feels like he can play at his best level, which is important there. He went on later to say that he does feel great and that though he's hit this standstill at the way he feels better and he feels ready to play, which is important here to the greater context of all this. If Bryce Harper is telling me he's good for right now. I am concerned long-term with the fact that he's got a reoccurring wrist injury and what it might do. And do I think that we're not going to see days off throughout here the rest of the season? No, of course I think we'll see days off. If he's promising you that, we're going to get there. But in terms of actually talking about what it does for this team and whether I'd reconsider being aggressive at the deadline, absolutely not. Any concern I have for Bryce Harper and his health, while it does factor into the long-term picture of what this team will do, you absolutely cannot change your plans with this team where they are at right now in terms of your aggression at the trade deadline. When you look at the age of one, Bryce Harper himself, and the guys you've committed big money and big contracts to, and especially Trey Turner right there alongside him, those two not getting any younger. Not getting any younger in terms of competing for a World Series. You also already have an expiration date for the career of Zach Wheeler out there on the table. You have to take advantage of your team's greatest asset while you have it, and that is the starting pitching on this team. And the level that they're going right now, which I see, this is something I know Unfiltered's hit quite a few times, because I feel like every time I see a video of Bill pop up talking baseball on my timeline is, you can't waste this starting rotation. Bill, you're right about that. You can't waste this starting rotation. And that is why you absolutely cannot be less aggressive because of concerns over Bryce Harper. I saw some people yesterday in our YouTube chat over our text board, and I see people on social media freaking out over Bryce Harper and his health. And, if he's not going to be healthy, what's going to happen to this team? When we get to the road in which he's not out there playing, then we'll start to address that. They have to continue with the path of this season of competing, and you've seen them Even without Bryce Harper, they are now leading the NL East. They were able to stay afloat in a month in which the Mets saw their starting rotation get injured and saw their season start to change a little bit. The Phillies didn't have Bryce Harper, and they overtook the Mets for first place in the NL East. This is a team still at the top of the National League, and you cannot change your aggression based on the what will happen. Because the what will happen exists across baseball. Well, what if this player goes down? What if that player goes down? I understand there's concern over his health, but to me, that can't take away from what you do at the deadline. The one thing it has changed for me, though, listening to him talk about his health, I think we got to stop with any type of trades that say, hey, he's going back out to the outfield. I think that officially can stop. I think I am done entertaining the world in which, what if Bryce Harper goes back to the outfield? What if he... I understand he said he'd do it. And I very much said on this exact show a few weeks ago that they would not be out of line to ask him to do it again. But at this point, him talking about his health, the long-term viability of his health, I am not asking him to do that again. That's the one thing this has changed for me. But in terms of aggression, I'm not changing at all my plans at the trade deadline with concerns about Bryce Harper's health. I just can't. I look at the roster that I have, and to accumulate all this talent like you have right now, to be in the position that you are right now, to change course because of the unknown, when Bryce is telling you, hey, I'm good, I'm ready to go, that to me does not seem like a plan that would be in the Phillies' best interest because you're preparing for a window that you don't even know if it exists. And that's the biggest problem for me when it comes to, should they be a little less aggressive because Harper's injured? Because Harper's had a little injury here? No. And by the way, for everyone that's freaking out about the fact this happened last year, it happened last year to him, it's happening again, how should I expect him to perform if he's not 100%? Do you want me to bring you back to last September when apparently he was dealing with the wrist? Last September when he was dealing with the wrist, 25 games in September, he hit .315 with a .394 on base percentage and slugged at a .543. Take you back to last August. Was he also dealing with that? Hit .298 at that time. That, to me, when I look at the concern over Bryce Harper and his wrist and should it change your plans at the deadline, it doesn't to me. Because if he was dealing with it last year, those numbers at the end of the season suggest he found a way to deal with it. And on top of that, I have too many guys right now in their prime that are a part of this championship window that I'm not going to invent a new championship window down the line that might happen and sacrifice this one right now just because of a month in which Bryce Harper did not play and concerns that, again, only those of us with MDs from WebMD right now are diagnosing him with. So I'm not changing my deadline plans, but I'm curious for you. 610-632-0975. I start today with this because I saw this idea floating around, whether it be, again, our YouTube chat, whether it be our text board, out on social media. He's not 100%. Should they even be aggressive? Should they even look to do anything? Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely still full steam ahead and trying to improve this roster and trying to put the best roster forward to go compete. I can't let the people, again, with MDs from WebMD tell me that this season is going by the wayside, this trade deadline should go by the wayside because of what you are trying to diagnose Bryce Harper from home. So that's where we'll start the show. You can get it on that 610-632-0975. Would you change your deadline plans because of your concern over Bryce Harper's injury? Does the concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want to see the Phillies go at the deadline? Now, we got plenty to get into today. The Hall of Famer Jason Stark joining us at 11:25. I got Brendan Gunn producing the show, hanging out with me. And we're also giving away Phillies tickets, all right? It's technically a General Knowledge Wednesday. If you've listened to General Knowledge Wednesday, sometimes my knowledge not so great. So I don't think I can replace Mike in the host chair, considering he dreamed of being a game show host his entire life. Today, we're playing a game very simple. I will give you a name, and you have to tell me Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. If you guess correctly, 50-50 shot, you're entered to win Phillies tickets for their game on July 4th coming up later this week. Very simple game. In a Declaration of Independence signer, 1800s Philly. You guess right, you're entered to win. You can get in at 610-632-0975. Does the concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? And coming up, one of the places we want to see them address at the deadline, the outfield. Who would be the odd man out? And in which scenarios does that outfielder get left out? We'll get to that coming up. I'm Ray Dunn. Taking you through the Mike Missanelli Show today, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, Right on, in for Mike Missanelli today. Brendan Gunn producing the show. You can get in at 610-632-0975. Ask you the question, does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? For me, it can't. You're in a year of contention. So many guys right now, either at like the peak or right there after the peak of when they were supposed to help you win. I can't let, and I'm going to keep using this phrase, and I don't mean to insult all of you out there that like to diagnose injuries from your couch while watching the game, because I do the same thing. But it's basically those of us with MDs from WebMD. Like, oh, he's got a little wrist thing. Let me look up what that's about, and I'm going to talk on that like I'm a doctor of this. And there's justifiable reasons to be concerned about his health. But given the way this team's constructed, given the starting rotation that you have with this team, there's in no way that I'm going to be less aggressive or change my deadline plans at all over concern of Harper. And I point you back to Harper at the end of last season, when the guy was still hitting over 300 from the beginning of August on, when apparently he was dealing with this. That's a big piece of this entire conversation. Well, is he going to be 100%? Can he deliver at 100%? If we know this has been a thing that's happened before, and it's happening again, he's taking the time off. He says he feels great. He's ready to get back out there. He did hit a ball hard the other night. And also, he got hit by a pitch again. The guy's a magnet. He's an absolute magnet right now. Just getting hit by pitches. It's unbelievable. Maybe they do retaliate. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do the retaliation conversation. I'm not getting there. Now, also today at 610-632-0975, we do have Phillies tickets for July 4th. So Friday, it's a 1:05 start. Phillies and Reds. Your opportunity to be entered to win that pair of tickets for Friday at the ballpark. Great way to spend your July 4th. Down there. Maybe get yourself a hot dog, a little slice of Americana for you. And all you have to do is play the game Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. Brendan Gunn producing the show. And before I get any of his opinions, we're just going to give you a sample question. Because if the name doesn't explain it enough, we'll let you figure it out. The name that I want you to guess here, Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. Thomas Hayward Jr.
Thomas Hayward Jr. Were there juniors back then, or were they the original senior? This is the thoughts that are going through my mind. You have to figure there were some juniors back then. Signer.
Wow, you would be entered. It wasn't Signer from
Let's
South
go.
Carolina. Thomas Hayward Jr. I thought the last name Hayward might get you in a baseball mood. You might be thinking, but fair enough. All right, so you be entered. That's how simple this is. Okay, this is not a general knowledge Wednesday in the way it usually goes, where our brains are all broken. I'm sitting back there contemplating if I should send apology emails to the teachers I had growing up because I'm getting something wrong. That's the type of general knowledge Wednesday we got today. But I also want to hear, does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the trade deadline? 610-632-0975. You can call or text. Now, we talk about addressing the lineup here. The outfield is something that continues to come up, and I keep advocating for them to go out there, add a right-handed power bat in left field. That's what I'm looking for. And if they do go that path, I'm asking you the question, who will be your odd man out? Now, if they go in left field, I feel like this is very simple for me. I don't know how simple it is for everyone else. If they get an everyday left fielder, Max Kepler, I appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. We'll always have those 9 home runs. They'll be forever memories for us. You're gone. Because you don't really have a role here at that point. Because the backup outfielder, fourth outfielder with the left-handed bat would be Marsh. I mean, he'd be starting in center field, but he would ultimately be the guy that moves to left field late in the innings. Both Marsh and Rojas could play center field. That's a valuable defensive asset. Kepler, I'm not convinced you could do that better than Marsh. Again, appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. If we do anything this year, you will get a ring. So congrats on that one, Whit Merrifield and the DFA'd Phillies from this contention window, Gregorius, they all meet on Wednesdays. You can hang out. It's a whole support group type thing. Now, if you go elsewhere in the outfield, say you were to go center field, that's where it becomes a little bit more complicated for me. Because if you go center field with a right-handed bat, am I taking Otto Kemp off this roster at this point? I know a lot of people will be like, get Rojas out. Rojas has got to go. I'm evaluating the defense here. Now, if you get a good defensive center fielder with a right-handed bat, maybe you do consider Rojas go back down and Marsh sticks around again as that fourth outfielder. It doesn't really help your left field situation where Kepler's still going to be there. And I guess you keep Kemp because you're going to continue with that platoon out there. But the weird thing is, and because Mullins is a name that's come up a few times for people, if you go that route in center field with the left-handed hitting center field, Kepler probably ends up out here again. Like, does it end up being Kepler or you trade to Marsh at that point? There's a lot of ways I want to go. The reason I bring this up is how close are we to just saying Max Kepler could be the odd guy out of this team come August? Like, if you had to put a percentage chance on it, what percent chance do you think he's here right now come the beginning of August? Because I'm not so certain they are making a move with the lineup, but I look forward to talking to Jason Stark coming up at 11:25 because, again, he'll have way more insight on this. There was a piece of the conversation between him and Dave Dombrowski on Starkville last week that stuck out to me of like, is this team really going to make a move for their lineup? Now, the week they had with their lineup last week leads you to believe that they might see now that there's a hole there. But if they do make a move with their lineup, I think 50-50 might be too strong of a percent chance that Kepler's still here. Because I just think he becomes the odd guy out with the ability to play center field and the fact that that guy moves into an everyday role. And if Kepler can't be an everyday guy, or an everyday guy in the sense of an everyday platoon player alongside Otto Kemp, but basically every day because he played, 75 of 80-something games? He finds his way into every game because he ends up having to play almost every game. If he can't play that role, what is his value here for you? Because defensively, that's not what you're getting at center. You don't have him play in center field. And offensively, he hasn't given it to you. And if you find someone else, right now, the odd guy out to me appears to be Max Kepler. But I know there's a lot of people in this fan base that are sick of Brandon Marsh. There's a lot of people in this fan base that are sick of Rojas. Otto Kemp right now has that I'm a new guy, kind of get out of jail free card type conversation. But if they make a move for the outfield, who would you want to be the odd guy out and why? What makes them the odd guy out for you? Kepler right now becomes the odd guy out for me because he cannot play center field. And quite frankly, I haven't gotten offensively what I need for him. I feel like I've got Max Kepler at home when it comes to having Brandon Marsh. If we're going to have a guy that can't hit lefties, I've seen this movie before. Can't hit lefties, plays a decent left field. Where have I been? Where have I been before? Well, Max Kepler hit 30 home runs. Yeah, in 2019, man. 2019. Long time ago. Don't ask where Brendan Gunn and I were in 2019. It would depress a lot of you, all right? Just saying. 610-632-0975. On top of asking, does the concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? If you have that move made at the deadline for an outfield, who'd be your odd man out? And why? Get your phone calls, your texts coming up. Padres doubleheader today. I have a little thing that concerns me about the Padres. It's not really a little thing at all because it's a drastic difference from the Phillies. And it's the reason why, despite what you watched Monday night, this team is still at the level of contender that the Phillies are. I'll explain to you. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you right here on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Doubleheader action for the Phils. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. After a rain out last night, the Phillies are set for a doubleheader today against the San Diego Padres. First game gets underway at 1:05 this afternoon. Mick Abel's going to be on the mound for the Phils in that one, facing off against a former friend, Nick Pivetta, for the Padres. The second game goes down tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound for that one, facing off against Dylan Cease. Tickets for last night's game are going to be honored at tonight's game. Hopefully that fireworks show is just as good a day later. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers on a one-year, $3.6 million deal. That is the veteran minimum deal in the NBA. By declining that player option and re-signing it, lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million to $2.3 million for the Sixers. The Flyers made a flurry of signings yesterday in free agency, highlighted by signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a two-year, $6.7 million contract. The team also signed center Christian Dvorak, defenseman Noah Jolson, and center Lane Peterson to one-year deals as well. This update was brought to you by Indeed.com. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers, the Flyers, and the Union. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Great on hanging out with you. In for Mike. Be in for him again tomorrow. Amy Fadul will join us tomorrow. Brandon Gunn hanging out with us both days. It's your buddies, the morning show crew, still here. Telling them to get lost, go home. If they're not careful, they're going to be here so late they end up running into Bill. Because, we're about 20 minutes from Bill showing up for his 2 o'clock show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You don't want that to happen. No, you don't. Trust me. As someone that wrote in his contract that I don't have to see Bill anymore, you don't want that to happen. Ask you the question today. Does concern over Bryce Harper's health at the deadline change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? 610-632-0975. And if you call in, we're giving you an opportunity today. Win Phillies tickets for July 4th. Okay? Phillies-Reds, 105 game. And all you have to do, it's General Knowledge Wednesday, but it's not really General Knowledge Wednesday. Because, again, I'm not as good a game show host as Mike. He dreamed of that his entire life. I watched him. I answered the questions. I didn't think I could really do the whole game show host thing. You got to come out and be so, hey, some days I might just not be feeling it. I'd be, all right, this audience kind of stinks. These contestants are idiots. Like, I wouldn't be able to bring that energy if their energy wasn't there in the place. But today we're asking the question, Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly? All right? Brendan Gunn got the first one right, so he would be entered. However, it's a 50-50 shot. You get it correct, we'll give you the opportunity to win Phillies tickets, and you get in, obviously, on what we're talking about today. And I mentioned something about the Padres that concerns me. We'll get to that in a second, but we do want to open up the phone lines here. Go out to Lancaster and talk with Greg. Greg, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, how you doing, Ray?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I actually want to talk about, I think the Phillies should be aggressive at the trade deadline. And even though I don't want them to do it, I think the most practical thing to do is to trade Ranger Suarez.
Why?
Because they're not going to re-sign him anyway.
Okay. So walk me through the rest of the season without Ranger Suarez.
Well, that's the strength of your team. You still have, people keep talking about Andrew Painter. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the strength of your team. Obviously, he's a great starting pitcher, but I think you can afford to lose a starting pitcher because I think you're going to get, even though his contract status is what it is, I think you're going to get some good players for him.
You could, but the issue...
I think it's... Again, I love Ranger Suarez, but I think it's just the practical thing to do.
Now, Greg, here's a couple of the issues I have with it. One, around this time last year, we were having the conversation of, wow, this starting rotation, is it one of the best we've seen? Is it the best we've seen in Phillies history? And then we remember that the fifth starter down the stretch was what it was because they basically ran out of starting pitching inside of their own organization. It's a strength until these guys hit a midseason wall, and all of a sudden you're looking around like, whoa, wait, where is it? But if you don't think they're going to hit that, consider the other side of this trade for a second. You're trading Ranger Suarez to get value back because you might lose him for nothing. Think about the team on the other side of that deal that would then say, wait a second, Scott Boras was hired as Ranger Suarez's agent leading into this season. Am I trading for a guy that's going to be happy and sign here, or am I trading for a guy that's just waiting his time before he gets to free agency because he wants to maximize the deal he can get? What are the odds that I'm actually going to trade assets away for Suarez and not have him re-sign here?
Well, I understand that, but that's the problem of it, because the Phillies aren't going to re-sign him either. So put that decision on another team.
Well, but and my response to that is, what if that other team looks at it like, well, we're not going to give the Phillies X, and we're not going to give them quite the value of Ranger Suarez because we don't know if we're going to be able to keep him. That's where my issue is. Now, here, Greg, we'll quick play the game here. Okay. If a team does that, that's up to Dombrowski to figure out whether he should do it or not. All right, real quick here.
I got you. Something that should be explored.
I got you. All right, we're going to play the game here. You want these Phillies tickets for Friday?
Absolutely.
All right, so it's the Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. John Hart.
I'm going to go with 1800s Philly.
Ooh, that is not correct. I'm so sorry, Greg. That is not correct. John Hart, a part of the New Jersey delegation. All right, folks? John Hart. He was, he actually, unfortunately, passed away a few years after the Declaration. Did not get to see the whole thing play out, but he did sign the Declaration of Independence. He was a North Jersey, I think, actually born in Connecticut here.
As long as he's not from Palmyra.
No. Yeah, I understand you and Palmyra now have beef. I have no idea why. What happened with you in that? Oh,
I just don't know where the hell it is. Apparently there's a bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the bridge called, too? Because I heard there was a whole bunch of problems. I went.
Well, Haley said Tommy Palmyra.
Yeah.
It sounds like a guy our old friend Anthony grew up with. Unfortunately for her, it's called the Tacony Palmyra Bridge.
I left sitting back there for maybe like 5 minutes, and apparently the world fell apart in the morning show. I came back, and there was a whole, like, what's happened in my life thing. All right, so here, Greg brings up this Ranger Suarez thing, and this is something I've been against because the strength of this organization, the strength of this team is the starting pitching. And I understand a lot of people look at it right now like, what's the value I can get for Ranger? Because you're looking at it from the Phillies' mind of how can I maximize what I have from Ranger Suarez? If I'm a rival executive, and this guy before his contract year hired Scott Boras to be his agent, and is having the season that he's having, am I going to give the Phillies the entire prospect haul on the chance he comes and signs with my team? Because ultimately, what is Boras going to say? Hey, Ranger, it was very nice of this team to trade for you. You should just take whatever they give you. No, he wants this to be a bidding war for Ranger Suarez's services. Ranger Suarez's greatest value to the Phillies is helping them in this competitive window and this specific run. Unfortunately, that will mean that you more than likely lose him for nothing in the offseason. However, right now, my trading guy's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last month and a half. No, sorry. I can't get myself to that level right now. Now, one thing I mentioned, what the Padres and what I think keeps them in that contender status in the National League. Because I know after Monday night, you could watch the Padres. They don't score a run. They threw out Matt Waldron, who I can't get his name right. I don't know how many people caught this. The first update on Monday, I said Mitch. I have Mitch Walding. I don't know how many people remember Mitch Walding from the Phillies from like a couple years ago. I feel like it's been a couple years ago. For some reason, I call Matt Waldron Mitch Waldron all the time because of Mitch Walding, who last played for the Phillies in 2019. Yeah. So prime cap. He had 2 at-bats from 2019, played for them in 2018. That's where my mind goes when I hear his name. But you watch that game Monday night, you might be like, why is this team even like a contender? Why is this team even like, what about them screams postseason? It's what you haven't seen yet. And it's the bullpen when they're ahead. This is a team in the Padres that have the 4th best bullpen ERA in baseball. They have the 6th best strikeout to walk rate. And I think they legitimately have 5 arms they could throw at you late in the game. That's the thing that scares me about this team in a postseason scenario. And that's like they have a decent enough staff where they could battle with you back and forth throughout the game. And the thing that concerns me in a Phillies-Padres matchup in the postseason would be you get down to them, they go to that bullpen, and it's 1, 2, 3, good night. Like you get 6 innings into a game where you're down against them, and that's where it is. Now, someone might say, Ray, Phillies have the 2nd best OPS against bullpens in all baseball. And I'd say, wow, man, you research like me. That's a very specific stat for you. That's weird that that's just on top of your mind. But that's what concerns me about them. And today, I think we're going to see that. That would be the concern in the matchup between the two of them. That's why I still have them as a contender. I know some people watched them the other night. Mike called them. I think he said they had little league tendencies to them, and he doesn't really see them as a competitor. To me, I still see them as a contender because of what we haven't seen yet. And that's the bullpen when they're ahead. And that's the biggest thing for me that will keep them in that competitive light going forward. Speaking of the competitive light, we got some responses on the YouTube chat, and in the response to what we had the question opening up. Does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go with the deadline? All right, so you get in on that 610-632-0975. I'll get some of our YouTube chatters' response to that. The one thing it's changed for me, I don't think I'm entertaining a lot of they could add this first baseman conversation anymore because I don't think he's going back to the outfield. Otherwise, I'm not being less aggressive. I'm certainly not trying to win this thing this year because he was out for a month with a reoccurring issue that last year he still hit 300 at the end of the season when he was going through it. It's concerning, sure. It's not changing my plans. Is it changing yours? 610-632-0975. And also something I got to clear up. So I was painted as a Cowboy sympathizer earlier in the week. Jordan Renan joined us on Monday, talking about the NFC East roundtable ESPN did and how he had the Cowboys win the division. I think we got to clear up something about this division going forward. A lot of people think it's just the Eagles Commanders. I don't think it's just those two teams coming this season.
How about them Cowboys?
I'm just saying. God forbid a guy around here tries to take away the bias and look at it as a good friend of mine. You say objectively. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you on the Mike Missanelli Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
We
All right. I do love like the dichotomy. Hi, it's Ray Dunn. I'm in for Mike Missanelli today. Brandon Gunn producing the show. The dichotomy of the return music. I've been sneaking a couple more different beds in there every once in a while. Just like, let me see. Let me see if Mike likes this one. I just don't see him, like, his head bob a little bit. I'm like, all right.
I heard you put either like Euphoria or N95 in there
N95,
one time.
yeah.
I heard that. I was like, did Mike request that or is Ray doing it?
No, I could tell you if it's a Kendrick song, it's going to be in there. I think the new Clips album, I've been like the few snippets we've gotten of it, I'm probably going to try and sneak one in there, see if it works. If not.
Yeah, come on now. Pharrell producing the whole album. It's going to be some great bounce back music.
Oh, yeah. It's also going to be some, sorry, I could go down this rabbit hole already. I've probably watched and read just about every single interview they've done about this album, especially about who they're going after in this album, and I think it's fantastic. Pusha T going after people is one of my favorite things in the world. I understand, maybe not for our entire audience. I'm going to go right back to the sports here. We're going to get to some of the Phillies conversation we had. I mentioned we're going to get into some Eagles right here. We got a tweet at us from our guy NBA Slime before the show. I tweeted out, is the NFC East just Commanders Eagles? And I love when people respond to the show tweet with what they're thinking before they even hear what I say. So I'll tell you one thing, Ray. I think the Cowboys could be better than the Commanders. Bold by him. But is it so offline with where I'm thinking? We'll get to that. We had Jordan on the show on Monday who said something about the Cowboys being in the mix for the division. We'll get to that. You can jump in with our main topic today at 610-632-0975. Does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? We're also today giving you your opportunity to win Phillies tickets for Friday, July 4th against the Reds. 105 start. Playing a game. Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. It gives me an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite players of all time. The only Nolan, who was a pitcher for the Phillies in 1885. To be a pitcher who was named the only Nolan a century before Nolan Ryan is just an unfortunate nickname to have. Just a very unfortunate nickname to have. Especially for a guy that only lasted 5 seasons in pro ball back then. I mean, that's a tough look for the guy. He also played on 2 of the more disastrous teams. He played on the Wilmington Quicksteps. They went 2-16-1 and folded. Yeah. When you talk about all-time bad winning percentages in baseball history, there's one for you. Yeah, I care too much about old baseball history. You're right. This guy's too young. He doesn't know anything about history. I bet you didn't know about the Wilmington Quicksteps. All right, that's 2 mentions too many of the Wilmington Quicksteps. We're going to go back to the phones here. Go out to the Northeast. Talk to Andrew. Andrew, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew?
Hello. Yes. Sorry, Ray.
No worries.
Good morning to you guys. I've been listening in. I'm kind of curious because it's not really brought up. Are we done with the idea of Justin Crawford coming up this year, or where did that conversation kind of go? Where do you feel he is, where the organization is with a player like that?
I don't think they're done with that conversation. I think that's still a conversation they're probably entertaining, given the way he's played.
His name hasn't been talked about with the Kepler, the Marshes. We talked about who we could acquire, but not a trial run with him for a week or two in the near future, maybe post-break.
So
All-Star break. I don't know.
Here's 2 things that like I'll get to like my actual feelings on him coming up, but in terms of the organization, Dombrowski, when he was on Starkville, and I listened to that interview a couple of times just to try and pick out different things that he was emphasizing. He emphasized how in stretch runs with the Red Sox, they got contributions from Benintendi and Devers coming up late in the season, and he likened that to players added to their roster that weren't from the deadline. So the fact that he used young guys coming up as an example, I understand he seems to be high on Kemp. I think that also gives you a little bit of a window into his thought process when it comes to Justin Crawford and thinking maybe he can contribute to them. There was also a question to Topper, I think, this past week, where he mentioned absolutely he could get himself, with the way he's playing, a chance to come into the major leagues. For me specifically, yeah, they might go about doing that. I don't know how much I want to put on a guy his age to be the absolute difference maker for a team that I think's biggest problem is lacking power, and he's a guy that is over 60% ground balls in AAA. So he's playing well. I don't want to downplay how he's playing, but I think in terms of addressing this lineup's biggest problem, I don't know if that does that.
That makes sense. All right, Ray. Just wanted your opinion. Thank you.
You want to play the game? You want to get a chance for Phillies tickets on Friday?
Sure.
All right. Let's give you the name Roger Sherman.
And I have to tell where they're from, correct?
It's either a Declaration of Independence signer or an 1800s Philly.
Declaration signer.
That would be correct. There we go. Let's put him on hold. Let's get Andrew an opportunity. So Andrew's in the running. Andrew from the Northeast in the running. Yes, from Connecticut. Lawyer, politician, he signed. He is actually the only person to sign the Continental Association, Declaration of Independence, article. Oh, what? Well, see, he signed. I'm about to. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, he signed 4 big documents here. Articles of Confederation. I thought it was different Articles of Confederation. It shows you that I don't know my history. And then he signed the Constitution. Only guy to do all 4. Good for him. Good for him. But make sure we get Andrew's information there. But he mentions Justin Crawford, him being in the plans for this team. I understand where people are with that. But I think that to address what's the biggest issue with this lineup right now, it's got to be power. To me, it's got to be power. And that's the big, he's just not bringing that to you. So I'm excited at the idea of having him here and what he might bring and a jolt to this lineup. And maybe if you think that addresses center field in a different way, sure. But I'm not necessarily that's the solution. That fixes all your problems. All right. I teased it. We'll get to it. We'll get to your phone calls too at 610-632-0975. The Cowboys. Are we just as a town, we hate them. I don't want to take away from the hatred of them. I also had despised them. But if I'm just looking at this one objective, am I supposed to just throw them out? Am I supposed to, you know what? No shot. No shot. They're not going to compete. They're for the division. All right. I don't think they have enough as a team to win a Super Bowl. I'm not worried that we're going to be talking next year about the Cowboys reap. But I do think there's a chance that we're talking about them in the division race. Jordan Bernard joined us. We'll get to that. And we'll see. Do you believe that this division is just the Eagles-Commanders? Have we just gotten to that point? Is that where we're at? 610-632-0975. I'm Ray Dunn. Take it through the Mike Missanelli Show right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Doubleheader action for the Phils. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. After a rain out last night, the Phillies are set for a doubleheader today against the San Diego Padres. The first game gets underway this afternoon at 1:05. Mick Abel's on the mound for that one. He'll be facing off against Nick Pivetta for the Padres. Then the second game goes down tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound for that one, facing off against Dylan Cease. Tickets for last night's game that was rained out are going to be honored tonight at tonight's game, obviously. Hopefully that fireworks show is as good as advertised one day later. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers on a 1-year, $3.6 million deal. It is the veteran minimum deal. Keeps getting me tongue twister all day. By declining that player option all day long, Ray. By declining that player option and re-signing it lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million to $2.3 million. The Flyers made a flurry of signings in free agency yesterday, highlighted by signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a 2-year, $6.7 million contract, and the team also signed center Christian Dvorak, defenseman Noah Juleson, and center Lane Peterson to 1-year deals yesterday as well. This update was brought to you by Payday, packed with peanuts and filled with golden caramel. Payday is one hard-working candy bar, so grab one now to power you through the day. Payday Peanut Caramel Bar. Get to it now. Payday all day. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers and the Flyers and the Union. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Closing in on the 11 o'clock hour. I'm Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli today here on the Mike Missanelli Show. Asking the question from the jump of the show, does the concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go with the deadline? 610-632-0975. I told our YouTube chat I'd show them some love with their answers. And you know what I just didn't do? That. Exactly that. So my apologies. Much love to all of you. They're answering this question. Neil checking in. It's a tough question for me, especially with a couple players in their walk here. I don't like losing out on assets for nothing. However, I'm not sure I could sell them off while being in contention. Colby following that with, you cannot sell. It's not even something to consider, in my opinion. And then Neil followed up, I may not go all in like I've been wanting to all season. Andrew's not changing his plans. So, and Neil follows up with, it might affect the quality of players I'd include in transactions. This all-in idea, by the way, that we've been teasing, it's one of my favorite things. Like, are you all in? Like, do I think that this team can compete? Yes. So am I going to trade prospects? Yeah. Do I think that I would be selling Painter and Miller? No. Does that mean I'm not all in on this team? I guess not. Like, I think that, maybe a little, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for a little rational thought here. I don't necessarily have that. Maybe I'm in the wrong forum for that one.
What's the alternative to these people, though? Like, you sell off a Schwarber, you sell off a Ranger Suarez?
There are people that want to do that. There are people that want to do that.
You have to start all over doing that. Then we're going to be stuck in the 2010s again. But yeah, you got some prospects this time. Unfortunately, you didn't trade them all away to go get somebody. You got to keep some of them. Like, I'm not telling everybody to go sell the farm like Ruben Amaro did. And I appreciated it at the time as a high schooler because I wanted to go all in that way. But, dude, you don't have to put all your chips at the table, but you can put some of them out there like you're in win-now mode.
I've tried to trade Abel at least 16 times since he came up. So, I'm throwing the chip there. Like, I understand for some people that you are very reluctant to believe because of what they've shown you. And I can't really do much for you. I'm not really going to get blue in the face yelling at you, believe, when I've seen the same concerns and I have the same concerns. But I want them to go get a bat. I want them, obviously, to address the bullpen. And I want them to do that before Bryce was hurt, when Bryce was hurt, now when Bryce is back. I wanted them to go about pretty much trading everyone but those top two guys before, during, after. I want them to address those things in the offseason, and I want them to address them now. Like, this... a little bit of a, I don't want to say a beacon of consistency, because I'm sure someone will go find a show from like 6 weeks ago when I was freaking out, and they're like, whoa, what'd you say? All right, maybe I freaked out for a second there. But we're going to have the Hall of Famer Jason Stark join us coming up at 11:25. Looking forward to talking to him. He's got great numbers on this rotation, a great number on Zach Wheeler. Could Zach Wheeler start the All-Star game? Get to that, what he thinks the Phillies might do. And I'm going to ask him the question. It's only fair if I ask all of you the question, if I also ask Jason Stark the question. He's got more insight on Harper's health. I know he's been down there, so I'm sure he'll give us some insight on the way people are talking about him there. All right. Before we get back to the phones here, I want to let you know you're listening to WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. Let's go back to the phones. One more. We'll get a Phillies call in here. We're playing the game Declaration of Independence Signer or 1800s Philly. You get it right. You get yourself a chance to get Phillies tickets on July 4th against the Reds at 105. Where are we here? Let's go out to Briarcliff to talk with Nick. Nick, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
What's happening, Dumb and Gun?
How we doing?
Good, we're doing all right. So calling in, I want to touch on the Harper thing real quick, but like the first caller called, I don't think trading Suarez would be the worst idea, just because they're all valid points. You're not going to re-sign him. He's pitching good. We do know he does become injury prone, but like you're right, I do like Ranger, and even in the postseason, there's situations where he could be very valuable to you. It's just, I also agree with you, you got to find power, and you got to find something for that bullpen.
Yeah, so the issue again, and you heard me my Ranger Suarez retort. So for people that didn't, I'm not doing it because I don't think you're actually going to extract value, because I think on the other side of the trade, that team is going to say, wait a second, I don't think I'm going to resign. Like, I'm not going to be able to just, he's not only going to come back to us. I think he's going to hit the open market, and I think that hurts it. And also, his greatest value to you, I think, is in this stretch run. So we'll disagree on that one. But yeah, I think we're both on the same side of the trade deadline thing, and you're not letting Harper's health dictate what happens to you at this deadline?
No, I'm not. But one thing I'm sort of disagreeing with you. I know you are totally against him going to the outfield, and I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But if you played the outfield, wouldn't that the injury's on his right hand. His gloves goes on his right hand. Wouldn't there be less stress on that wrist not playing first base, considering how much action comes to first base through the infield, let alone plays at first base? And if I'm not mistaken, one play last year, a guy ran into his wrist at first base. So keeping it in the outfield might be keeping him a little safer, for now.
So I can't, I obviously can't predict whether or not someone's going to run into his wrist. I just think at this point for him, I think it's going to be a tough sell saying, hey, go out to the outfield. We know your wrist hasn't been right, but I'm sure, being out there, throwing the ball in, chasing things down, that it'll be fine for you. I think just for them, I think they're going to play it very safe, and I don't think they're even going to try and have that conversation with him at this point. They're going to say, you know what, we think the best thing for your health is first base. We've had enough health problems with you already. Stick there at first.
I got you.
All right, you want to play the game?
Sure do.
All right, let's see. Let's get you a name here. Let's go Robert Ferguson. 1800s Philly or Declaration of Independence? 1800s Philly is correct.
Nice.
All right. Hey, can we get a correct ding for the good man that just got it right over there? Hey, good work, Nick and Briarcliff. We'll put you on hold there. Come on, you didn't give the payoff to Nick. He's sitting there like, well, did I get it right?
That's my good Delco guy, too, from Briarcliff. I left him hanging. I was checking the text line.
Wow, good for you. Good way to do your job there. I'm so proud of you. Robert Ferguson, by the way, went by Bob. Second baseman on the 1883 Phillies.
What do you say, Bobby?
38 years old. Probably a guy they should have tried to unload at the trade deadline, in my opinion.
He was ripping darts and then pumping gas right after the game, too. That's a hard worker right there.
You're pumping gas in 1883?
Actually, you're wrong. I've been here since 4 in the morning.
We got 3 more hours, bro. He's pumping gas.
He's pumping some kind of gas on the farm, the methane from the cows. You know what I meant?
595 OPS for him. Did not homer in the season. A negative .3 WAR. And the guy also served as manager for 17 games. He went 4-13 as the manager. Robert Ferguson, folks.
Shout out to Bobby.
Everybody complains about Topper. You could have had Rob Ferguson as the manager. That man stunk. That man was a 38-year-old player coach that could not manage anyone.
Sleepy Bob.
Sleepy Bob. All right. We'll get back to the phones and text line in a second. Our question, does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at deadline? But I've been teasing this Cowboys thing. Jordan Renan joined us on Monday, and Renan was a part of an NFC East ESPN roundtable where they talked through the division. Spoiler, Tim McManus, Todd Archer, John Cobb, all of them that cover the teams for ESPN, whether it be Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, picked the Eagles. Except Renan, who covers the Giants, and picked the Cowboys. He joined us to kind of talk through that decision, and here's what he had to say about the Cowboys being in the mix.
Yeah, I think they're right in the mix. Like, to discount them, which I think a lot of people have, is kind of foolish. Like, it happens to teams, right? You have injuries in the NFL, and there's certain injuries you're just not going to be able to overcome, right? And they also made some mistakes last year. We know that. They left themselves super thin. Their running game was non-existent, completely non-existent. It's a recency bias thing, right? But so because they had a bad year last year, all of a sudden people are like, completely discount them. I think if we went back and listened to the tapes last year, there were people that were still looking at the Cowboys as a threat and a serious threat. So really not that much has changed, in my opinion, in that regard.
So I will say, going into last year, I did feel like the Cowboys were going to take a step back. Now, I thought they were going to take a step back. I might have had them like at 9-8 or something like that. They ended up winning 7 games. And when you look at what they didn't have and what they did have, Micah Parsons early on, not there for them. Dak Prescott, late in the season, not there for them. Best player, most important player on one side, most important player on the other side, not there for you. The quarterback at the end of the season, and the defensive player at the beginning of the season. To me, that plays a massive role in the way your season goes. And then you go down where they were a year ago, and you look at the Cowboys' 2024 schedule and the different ways their season could have gone. Early on there, you had a couple games that just, quite frankly, did not go in their way. And you say, what do you mean didn't go in their way? Year to year in the NFL, one-score games have proven to be something that kind of regresses back the other way. And early on in the season, they lose by 3 to the Ravens. And then when they're still kind of in it after their bye week, they lose by 6 to the 49ers. They lose by 6 to the Falcons. Back-to-back one-score games. Then Prescott has the injury. And then everything falls apart for them. There's a reason to believe a little bit of positive regression there in terms of the way one-score games go. Also, having your most important player on the offensive side and your most important player on the defensive side out there for you could lead you to more success. And oh, by the way, when Dak Prescott has been healthy and played in a full season, they tend to win double-digit games. Do I think that the Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl this year? No. Do I think they're going to break the whole NFC Championship game drought? No. Do I think that I'm concerned that the Eagles are going to have their dreams derailed by the Cowboys? No. I do think in this town, we have looked at the Cowboys and kind of scoffed them. Yeah, goodbye. You're not, and in terms of organizational level in the NFL, the Eagles have far surpassed them. But just because you're a mess up top doesn't mean on the field you can't win double-digit games and at least mess with my division for a year.
What do you have on under that sweatshirt? Are you wearing a Dak Prescott jersey underneath there?
I'm actually wearing a T-shirt from a fundraising 5K. All right?
That's a funny way to
raising
say
money.
an Emmitt Smith jersey.
What does this look like to you? Don't you dare. See, because that's what, again, everyone comes after me with this. And Mike was trying to paint me as you got the Cowboys win the division. I kept saying, no, Mike, I don't have the Cowboys win the division. Oh, you think the Cowboys could win the Super Bowl? No, I don't think that they could win the Super Bowl. All I'm telling you is that when you look at this team to just say, yeah, Eagles 1-0, it's so, especially with all the changes in the secondary and what they have offensively in that first game, there's a chance that you could be surprised Thursday night when that season starts. It's going to be a long 10 days of content for us if that's the case. But to me, I think they can win double-digit games. I think they can be a factor in this division. I know our guy talked about the tweet that we got from NBA Slime saying, hey, they're going to be better than the Commanders. I'm not quite there on that. I don't know about that. I do think the Commanders probably a little bit of a step back this year considering they were so old last year. And basically Daniels carried that team to where they got. And the second year for a quarterback in the NFL could be tough. But the Cowboys didn't have a bad draft. The order of their draft was confusing, but as a Raku, they get on the same defensive line as Micah Parsons. Booker, not a bad guard, but
he's replacing a Zach Martin, too. Overdrafted and replacing their best offensive lineman for a line that struggled a little bit the past couple of years.
I got you. Again, I don't think they have enough to get it done. But to suggest they're not going to be in the conversation of this division, I think for us is just us being like, yeah, Cowboys suck, am I right?
Like, there's some reports, though. This could be Dak's last year here because of the contract. You don't know what George Pickens is going to do in a contract year if he's not getting the ball. Like, there's a lot of ways it can go south out there, too.
There are absolutely a lot of ways it can go south for them out there. And I'm not telling you that I think they're winning something big, but I think this entire, Eagles-Commanders thing is forgetting that when Dak has been healthy, that team knows how to win regular season games. Would I put any sort of American currency on them to do anything in the postseason? No. But I think some of the people around here that are just like, yeah, it's a two-team division, are misguided. And I'm curious, when you listen to me talk here, because I know our guy JM on the YouTube's been like, well, how do you answer for what their defense was last year? How do you answer? Well, defense, again, didn't have its best player to start the season. And by the time that they actually got him back, the other side of the football was so bad, they had got no help defensively from the fact that offense was not good. And look at their running back situation. Again, it's not a perfect situation for him. I'm not telling you that it should be a perfect situation for him. I'm telling you it's a team that's probably going to win like 10 games. And that's enough to at least mess with us into December. Tweak us a little bit. That's all I'm saying for it. Am I crazy for that? 610-632-0975. Coming up. One thing that I've been bothered by in the NBA that really drives me nuts. And also coming up later this hour, Jason Stark joins us 11:25 to talk all things baseball, especially your Philadelphia Phillies. I'm Ray Dunn, in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. Brendan, you got a compliment. I'm Ray Dunn hanging out with you. Brendan Gunn on the board, playing DJ. My guy Tim, who I work with over at Temple, media text, bounce back music, man. Great stuff.
That's what I'm here for.
You think you would have like another career DJ at weddings? You think you could do it?
I think I could do it. I just got to read the room a little bit sometimes, wait till the older people get out, drop the clean versions, and then boom, party on the dance floor.
It's a good point. I don't think I could do it. I'll be honest with you. I think I would indulge too much in enjoying the wedding. I think my best role at a wedding is guest. I don't think I have any other role there. I know people do people that like in our industry do like photography at weddings, like it's a nice like side gig type thing. My best role is guest. I don't have much other good roles.
Once you find the cards, though, like it takes you a while to find a good card.
What do you mean?
For people like you, you've run into it a couple of times, getting that nice card that says congratulations on getting married.
I haven't gotten a card like that. Have I been married before?
No, I'm saying you buying the cards for your friends.
Oh, yeah. No, the card's a struggle. No, I need. See, the problem is I need to go to a wedding with someone so that the card can appear more like it came from her than it came from me. Because I don't feel like the cards that I am subjected to buying look like me. Like, I don't think you should get something from your single guy friend that says love is and like a whole thing. Like I'm not the messenger there.
Single guys don't know what love is?
If I did, you think I'd still be a single guy?
Can't love your buddies like you love your wife?
I guess. Love is us hanging out playing video games. Love is a couple of beers on the golf course.
There you go.
Like, see? But like, look how hollow that rings. You open up that card with your wife after your wedding, and she's like, what is this?
And then you're sitting there like, this is the most romantic thing I've ever read.
Or I give like the congratulations on your marriage in like cursive with like flowers coming off it. That card doesn't scream me. Like that doesn't.
No.
The single guys, I'm glad you brought this up because I've had a problem. I know I've had a problem with this. I've had a problem as a single guy attending a wedding alone, finding a card that makes sense for me to give. There are not enough cards that are geared towards the single guy going to a wedding giving a card.
Hallmark, listen up.
Yeah, Hallmark, please. I'm begging you. The single guy going to the wedding either has to give a card all flowery, lovey-dovey with like cursive on it that doesn't quite fit the vibe, or has to give a card that says love is, and who is listening to their single buddy about what love is? All right? You probably got to that day because you ignored all the advice of your single buddy. That's what I'm saying. All right? I don't have a lot of luck with cards. That's my one problem. I might start buying things off the registry now because of that. I'm glad you brought that up. I've had a real struggle with that. It's been a real problem for me. Just like I have a real problem with something in the NBA. We're going to get to that in a second. But we're asking you today at 610-632-0975. Does Bryce Harper's health concern at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? We're also giving you a chance to get Phillies tickets for July 4th, 105 start Phillies and Reds. And all you got to answer is this guy the guy who signed the Declaration of Independence or played for the Phillies in the 1800s? Let's go out to Lehigh Valley, talk with Seth. Seth, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Hi, good. How about you?
Doing fantastic. What you got for us?
Hey, I agree with you on not changing anything at the trade deadline with Bryce's status. I think the guy has played hurt more than we know in the past, and I think he'll continue to play hurt. And he did last year, and he had a great second half of the season. I don't see any reason that he wouldn't continue to do that. The guy's just a gamer, and he lives for baseball. So I don't see that changing anything.
All right, I'm glad. I'm also right there with you in terms of not changing anything. I don't think that they need to change their approach because what he said, he also said he feels good. So what am I supposed to do? Tell him, all right, you feel good right now? Guess what? You feel so good, we're going to try and trade off pieces here or not be aggressive. Seth, can you hear me? Did he mute me?
Yeah,
Seth?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Right, I lost you there.
I got worried there for you. Where are we driving here? We got you in a tunnel? You going through one of those tunnels up there in the Lehigh Valley?
No, I'm on the blue route. I'm going to the game. I'm on my way.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Enjoy the game today. I'm going tonight. I got tickets. The 1 o'clock start really conflicted with something I had to do today, so I couldn't go this afternoon. You want to play the game for the chance to be there Friday?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. The name for you, William McClellan.
William McClellan.
Is it a Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly?
I would say Philly.
That would be correct. Let's put him up on hold. Seth, you are in the running for the Phillies tickets. Yes, Bill McClellan is a utility player for those really, really vaunted 1884 Phillies. And good old Billy McClellan had a nice career. I mean, in terms of length of career. I can't really say he had a nice career in terms of the skill he displayed. But hey, 2 seasons in Philly, ended up getting himself a job up at Brooklyn. The year 1883, 1884, he kind of stunk for the Phillies, I'll be honest with you. Like, looking at the numbers, not a guy that, I guess, that good defensively, but, not a guy I would have kept around. I'm kind of glad they let him walk after 1884. He was not a priority for me.
He walked so Johan Rojas could run.
I mean, this guy played on 2 losing teams. I probably wouldn't have liked him. I probably would have, utility guy, bad team, no good. We've seen about, there's been like 1,000 Bill McClellans that have played for the Phillies since that time. 2 losing seasons, OPS like 600 something, no good. Now, something that's bothered me with the NBA real quick. We're going to get back to the phones. We're going to go to a very important phone call coming up. I kind of feel like this second apron's kind of killed a little bit of the story of the league. And I like the parity of the league, but now, 6 o'clock on Monday night was lame. This free agency, maybe there wasn't the marquee free agent making the move, but this was kind of an underwhelming free agency. Also, nobody's leaking things anymore at 6:01 because everyone's afraid of getting tampering charges, which is also ridiculous. All right, everybody tampers. Just let it happen, all right? I want to be excited at 6:01 with what happens. But also, I always love the fact that, to be the next team in the NBA, you had to beat the team in front of you. And I don't know, okay, so the Knicks got by the Celtics this year, but they didn't get the ultimate goal. For the Knicks to really arrive, eventually they'd have to get past the Celtics. They got past the Celtics, part of that, the Tatum injury and all that. But now the Celtics don't have the opportunity to compete with them again, partly because injury, but partly because they're up against the second apron. I kind of hate it. I kind of hate that we're seeing teams be blown up by this salary cap thing. I'd rather you have to, get past them naturally. Maybe this is just me trying to throw a little bit of story into this league, but I kind of like the parity era is nice to see different teams win. But now I think that, are we post-dynasty? OKC has a chance because they got 1,000 picks. But are we post-dynasty in the NBA? Is that a good thing for the NBA? I don't know. It kind of bothers me. Well, we could tease that out a little bit later. I just want to throw that out there. Mostly I'm mad that Monday sucked. Monday at 6 o'clock was oh boy, Dorian Finney-Smith signed a 4-year, $53 million deal. Really?
His name's coming up in an hour or so, less than an hour.
Oh, good. That's a tease for the news at noon, folks. That's how good I am. I don't even know what's up on the news at noon. I'm teasing it. Speaking of teasing something, you want to stick around. Jason Stark, the Hall of Famer, join us coming up next, talking about your Phillies. A lot of different ways we get in this conversation. Looking forward to talking to Jason. I'm Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Double the fun today for the Phils. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. After a rain out last night, the Phillies are set for a doubleheader today against the San Diego Padres. The first game gets underway in about an hour and a half at 1:05. Mick Abel's going to be on the mound for that one, facing off against Nick Pivetta for the Padres. The second game goes down tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez on the mound for that one, facing off against Dylan Cease. Tickets for last night's game that was rained out and postponed. Those tickets are going to be honored at tonight's game. Hopefully that fireworks show is just as good one day later. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers on a 1-year deal. The deal is worth $3.6 million, and it's the vet minimum. So by declining that option over the weekend and re-signing it lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million to $2.3 million, helping the Sixers out just a little bit. The Flyers made a flurry of signings in free agency yesterday, highlighted by signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a 2-year, $6.7 million contract. The team also signed center Christian Dvorak, defenseman Noah Juleson, and center Lane Peterson to 1-year deals yesterday as well. This update was brought to you by Dairy Queen. Flying to DQ today for a cosmic collision of flavors in their new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat for a limited time. Don't miss Superman, only in theaters July 11th. DQ, happy taste good. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers, the Flyers, and the Union. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back in. Plenty of baseball conversation today. I'm Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Brendan Gunn producing the show. And now, a regular on this station and certainly on this show, the Hall of Famer, the man whose podcast last week, Starkville with Doug Glanville, gave me a week full of content. I know for me, I pretty much reacted to that audio all week long. The weekend show, if you listen to me this weekend, there was a ton of takeaways from the Dave Dombrowski interview on Starkville. He is the one, the only, the Hall of Famer. Jason Stark joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Jason, how are you today?
Ray, I'm great. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, and there's a lot that I want to get to with you about that Dave Dombrowski conversation, but I want to start with a guy that just is so much fun to watch in Zach Wheeler. I know you got a stat for us. I know you've got a little bit about the All-Star game coming up for Zach Wheeler. Let's start the conversation because we've had the debate, I guess, the last couple of days on this station where he stands in the pantheon of Phillies history. But when you watch Zach Wheeler, can you try and contextualize for people what they're watching every time he takes the mound?
Well, the stat of the week that I had in mind had more to do with all the buzz about Zach Wheeler starting this All-Star game in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of fun. I wanted to run through the Phillies pitchers who have started an All-Star game. You know, we won't count the 1950s, Robin Roberts and Kurt Simmons combined to start a bunch of them. But why don't you think about this, Ray? Last 50 years, only 4 Phillies pitchers have been the starting pitcher in an All-Star game. And I wonder if you could name them. I bet you have a shot at 3 of them anyway.
All right. Starting the All-Star game. Carlton got to do it?
He got to do it one time as a Philly.
Wow.
Only once. 1979. I was shocked by that.
That's incredible. All right. So one time for Carlton. Halladay?
Halladay is the most recent.
Okay.
2011. 2 to go. One of them was really memorable, although it was more memorable for the other starting pitcher that night than him.
All right. Let's see. Schilling do it?
Schilling did it. 1999, started opposite Pedro at Fenway Park the night that Pedro struck out the world.
That's
Kurt Schilling also participated.
All right.
And that leaves one more.
One more Philly to start an All-Star game. Let's go with... All right, so the most recent was Halladay in 11, so it had to be someone sooner than that.
In between Schilling and Carlton on a really fun Phillies team, but you would not think he would have started an All-Star game.
Man, a really fun Phillies team. You wouldn't think he started the All-Star game. I don't have it. Who are we going?
1993 Phillies, Terry Mulholland started the All-Star game in Baltimore, Maryland. This is a true story.
Really? I would not have got. We could have sat here for a while on that one.
I told you I thought you could get 3, but I think there's a real good chance Zach Wheeler could add his name to that list. If you look at the schedule of the rotation, it lines up perfectly for him. I would guess he'll go Sunday now, and then the following Friday or Saturday, and that means he could throw an inning the following Tuesday in the All-Star game, right?
Makes sense to me. And you think that's kind of where they're lining this up? Because I know there was talks about breaking up the lefties in this rotation. Did part of that maybe go by the wayside because of that?
I don't think the All-Star game is related to that. No.
All right. I just know they had that conversation, so I didn't know if they were trying to line him up. But it would be a great story. I mean, for him to start that game down in Atlanta, what it would mean to him. And
he's never won a Cy Young. He's arguably the best, most reliable, great starter in the sport. It feels like the kind of thing that the sport would want to recognize, that Dave Roberts, who's going to manage the National League team, understands is worth recognizing. I think it's really fun to talk to people around the sport about Zach, because I think if you asked 30 teams, you're about to play Game 7 of the World Series, who do you want to start it in the entire sport? 27 of them would pick him. I'm not kidding. Just because your confidence that he will be great and pitch into the 7th or 8th inning is higher than almost anyone else in the game. And so it feels like none of that has been properly rewarded. An all-star start could easily be that reward.
And taking him as obviously the anchor of this rotation, look at the big picture of the month that this rotation's had and just the start to the season this rotation has had. As you watch this group go about doing it, we keep talking, this is the strength of the rotation, this is the strength of the rotation. How do you contextualize what the last month, that month of June, was for one Wheeler? Obviously Suarez, we've seen Sanchez go with the level he is. Just when you watch this rotation, what does it make you think about as it relates to baseball history?
Yeah, I've been talking about this since spring training. No matter what flaws this team might have, the rotation covers up almost all of them on a lot of days, because I don't think there's a contender in a sport that's had a rotation like this. No Phillies rotation has had a better month since that 2011 team. And if you even take a bigger picture look at this, if they keep this up, they're going to have the second best earned run average of any Phillies rotation since baseball lowered the mound in 1969. Only the 2011 best rotation ever team was better. And, I mean, think about what that ERA would look like if Jesus Luzardo hadn't been tipping pitches and gave up 20 runs in 2 starts. Even with that, Ray, this rotation has the best strikeout rate of any rotation in baseball, the most innings pitched of any rotation in baseball. Opposing hitters make the softest contact of any rotation in baseball, and they've been doing it all with no Andrew Painter and no Aaron Nola. Just how we drew it up.
And exactly when you talk about if Luzardo hadn't been tipping his pitches for the season-long ERA, I mean, if you had anything close to the normal form of Aaron Nola, what it could look like for you right now. I mean, it's truly incredible what we're watching there in the rotation. You talk about it covering up some of the flaws, and that takes me to the lineup and the week the lineup has had since we last spoke to you. Obviously, Houston, and then they have the fun Friday night. For those that stayed up through that rain delay, you get to enjoy what they did to the Braves, and then the rest of the weekend. I don't know if there's been a team in history that is 6-game stretch where they had a 13-run game in there and still averaged less than 3 runs a game. But it was quite impressive the way that played out for them in probably a bad way for the lineup. What do you think about upgrades to this lineup, and how much are they going to address this lineup, do you think, come the end of this month?
Yeah, well, part of my job, constantly talking to people from other teams, and I've been asking the question, who's a hitter who's likely to get traded who could change a team? And right now, I don't know that we even see one. I don't think Dave Dombrowski sees one. Again, not right now. And you mentioned that appearance that he had on the Starkville podcast. One of the things I said to Mike last week is when Dave tells a story about something that happened in his past, I'm always thinking, this is not a random story. This is a story he's telling because it could so easily apply to what he's going to do this year. And he told the story of the 2018 Red Sox team that won the World Series, calling up Rafael Devers because he was better than any guy they could trade for to fill that hole. And it's really hard for me to listen to that story and not see a parallel to Justin Crawford, a guy that Dave really likes. I don't mean to give the impression that the Phillies will not trade for a bat, some right-handed piece to fit into a puzzle. For example, Ray, I could definitely see a deal that they make with a team in which they get both a back-end reliever and a corner outfield bat of some kind. But I honestly think their 2 biggest midseason lineup additions are going to be Justin Crawford and a guy named Bryce Harper.
And we'll get to Harper's health there in a second, but just to follow up on the Crawford question, addition idea there. When you look at this lineup, and we've talked a lot about the pop in this lineup, bringing up Crawford doesn't necessarily solve that. How do you think internally would they see his addition to the lineup benefiting them, I guess, from that perspective, in the perspective maybe they don't, right now the pop hasn't been what you would think for the group that they have out there right now?
Yeah, I mentioned to Mike on one of the shows that I did that, they're on pace to hit 50 fewer homers than 2 years ago. Now, we should put that into context. The entire sport, home runs are way down. compared to 2 years ago. It's interesting, but it's real, and they need the guys on their team who are paid to hit the ball over the fence to start doing that more. There's no doubt about it. Bryce has to do that when he comes back. That's what he is paid to do. But you know that old expression, speed never goes into slumps, right? And Justin Crawford can really run. He's got tremendous baseball IQ. He's got a funky swing, but he does make a lot of contact. He's got a high on base. I do worry that guys who hit the ball on the ground as much as he does are going to struggle in the big leagues because defensive information and defensive positioning are so good and so precise. And if you hit ground balls in the big leagues right now, there's usually somebody standing where you tend to hit the ball. But he would add speed. He would add a spark. He'd add energy. And I think that's what Dave is thinking. I don't know when his time might arrive, but there's no doubt that he's in Dave's mind as Dave weighs lineup additions.
We're talking to the Hall of Famer Jason Stark from The Athletic here on the Comcast Business Hotline. And you mentioned last week with Mike about when he tells a story, you listen. I went back and listened after you pointed that out, and I was very intrigued by the example he gave from 2022, where he felt that it was important for that team to make the postseason. So maybe they wouldn't have gotten rid of Ben Brown in a normal circumstance, who they traded for Robertson at that deadline, but he felt it was important for that group to break the postseason drought. With this group being on the precipice of a number of guys being up against contract years, my ears perked up. But it's important for that group to do it that year specifically, and he was a little bit more aggressive with a guy he might have wanted to hold on to. Leads me down the path of, are we looking at a season where when we talk about being aggressive, I don't think Painter's on the move, I don't think Miller's on the move, but that idea of someone they would more than likely want to hold on to maybe could be on the way out because of just the circumstance we're at.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad read. I think when Dave looks at his team and looks at the sport, he sees a team that certainly has the starting pitching to win a World Series, and that no team would want to face. He looks around the sport. Tell me there's a great team. The Dodgers, if healthy, are a great team, but the Dodgers are not healthy. They might not ever get healthy, and no matter what you think of the Dodgers and what they could be, they almost got knocked out by the Padres last year. And if you look at win the World Series odds, there's something like a 75% likelihood that somebody else wins. And so Dave looks at all that. He looks at the window for this particular group, and I do think he's prepared to get a little bit uncomfortable in the right situation. I think one of the things I took away from the stories he told last week is he doesn't want to do that for a rental, not this time. He would prefer to do it for that back of the bullpen type guy who he can hold on to beyond this year. That's a little different situation for him. And has he looked into pairing that with a bat, a corner outfield bat? There's no doubt that he has. And so how is this going to go? He's shown no inclination from teams I talk to talk about Crawford, Painter, or Miller. Somebody told me a story about making a deal with him a couple of years ago in which Dave said to their team, I'm not trading this guy, this guy, this guy, or this guy. You can pick anybody else in my system, and I will trade him for player X. Couldn't you see that happening once he finds that player X who's available? You know what I mean? I think that could easily be how this plays out. So, I mean, like, we've got Taiit, the catcher, in the Futures game coming up in a week and a half, and he's really young. He might not wind up being a catcher. He's really far away from the big leagues. That's the kind of guy Dave Dombrowski tends to deal for that big piece of the deadline.
Yeah, so you're saying basically those three look like they're the one, and that story right there leads me to believe, yeah, pretty much anything's on the table aside from those three going into this deadline. Now, one more thing for you, because we're talking about this today, because the fan base, I saw this yesterday in the reaction to what Harper had to say about his health, where people were like, well, if Harper's not going to be healthy, well, am I going to be that aggressive at the deadline? Can I trust this team to be at 100%? Which one, if Bryce is telling me he's good, and Bryce played through this last year and still, hit 300. Yeah, sure, the power numbers weren't exactly what they were for Bryce at the end of that season while he was dealing with the wrist, but he still had the ability to hit 300 through it. I'm not changing my aggression at the deadline over Bryce Harper. What do you know about the health of Bryce Harper right now? And is there any inclination that would throw things off for the way they're looking to be aggressive at the deadline?
Everything that happens in the next 3 weeks is a factor in what they do at the deadline. It's been a little difficult to understand exactly what Bryce is dealing with. Ray, I forgot to go to medical school again this week, so I don't know exactly what to make of this.
I keep saying my MD is from WebMD, so I can't really tell you how healthy he is. If he says he's good, he's out there, he's playing, Jason. I can't do much more than that.
Right. So, look, let's think about what we know. That's what I try to do at times like this. He had this condition last year. He said it's the same thing. It came back this year. He never had surgery. When you listen to him talk, he's not denying that whatever he's been dealing with is still there to some extent, just not the same level of discomfort. Another thing that we know is Bryce Harper swings really hard. We now have swing path data on StatCast, and you can look at it, and it tells us Bryce Harper takes twice as many really hard swings as the average major league hitter. Twice as many. So wrist issues, that's what he's dealing with, right? Do wrist issues go away for hitters like Bryce? To me, that's an area of definite concern. But the sense I get is, Dave said this on the podcast, this is now in Bryce's hands, literally, right? Mm-hmm. How much discomfort or pain does he think he can handle? That's what it's going to be about the rest of the year. I just feel like if I were Rob Thompson, I don't think I would play this version of Bryce Harper 7 days a week right now. I watch how the Dodgers are slow playing every injury. We've just come off this period where I think we learned that with a condition like this, rest is really valuable. Am I right? So, use these Thursday off days they have coming up for the next month and get him an extra day on either side of it when you can. I think he needs that, and if he's playing, all but one game a week for a month, we'll have a better idea of what this is and what it means.
That's why it's a good time to have him back right now, because about a month from now, you have to make that decision of how aggressive you're going to be. Jason, even though you're not a doctor, I do really appreciate always getting the chance to chop up some baseball with you. Thank you so much. Look forward to having you again next week.
Ray, great to talk to you. Have a fantastic 4th.
You as well. Jason Stark from The Athletic on the Comcast Business Hotline. Yeah, we're going to react to that last part right there. Load management? Baseball? There's no load management in baseball. Oh, but there is. Oh, there is. Are you all right with it? This is going to be fun. I'm Ray Dunn, filling in for Mike Missanelli right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The summer's here, and you know what that
I forgot. Jason just reminded me. I didn't get to ask him about the Donovan Walton trade. Because you're not reading your updates, man.
How did I miss it?
Donovan Walton trade. Interdivision trade here. Mets, Phillies making a deal. Oh. He doesn't even have to be on the 40-man. I mean, this was top stuff. Thank you for Jason for reminding me on this one. I'm right down in for Mike Missanelli today. And the one thing I'm taking away from that conversation, I mean, there's a lot. I'll be honest with you. If you tune into me this weekend, we're going to be replaying stuff from that conversation this weekend because there's a lot of Phillies things that I always pull from our chats with Jason Stark. Obviously, the Starkville podcast, and I think you should go check out, and everything he writes in The Athletic. I've become a big train regional rail guy recently, Brendan Gunn. And on these train rides, I've found that I just go through the entire Athletics MLB stories. I was reading this weekend Bruce Bochy and the power of taking walks. Like I was deep into what was going on. I'm reading about prospects that I've never heard about. I had an hour-long train ride out to Doylestown for a friend's birthday, and I was just rolling, reading.
Does it get
baseball.
too loud for you? You sit in the quiet train?
No, I don't even sit in the quiet train. It's a regional rail. It's not really that loud. You know, people are talking, but I'm just sitting there. I'm like the old guy with the paper, except it's not with the paper. I just got my phone. Like I'm leaning back, and I'm just my phone reading. I love the Athletic baseball cover.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'll read it nonstop. So, reason why I talk so long there with Jason Stark, I'd like to pick the guy's brain. Now, he mentions there the way they might use Bryce Harper and the way they might give Bryce Harper days off. I'm cool with it. Like, if my option is in October, Bryce Harper's been run into the ground and it's Otto Kemp at first base and whatever they do with left field versus Bryce Harper at first base and whatever it is they do at left field, like that's the risk I'm taking here. I'm willing to give him that extra day off if that's how he feels like he needs to manage it. And at this point, it seems like a pain tolerance thing because the doctors are saying, hey, this is good. You know, this is as best as you're going to get it. I'm fine with it. But I know for a lot of people, and I saw in our YouTube chat, and I think it's Tell that said it. Yeah. Tell said, load management, the two worst words in sports. I don't think they're going to use that phrasing for you. In this town, I think the Phillies are smarter. I'd like to give their PR staff more credit.
Ramping up to play tomorrow.
Nope, no ramping up. They're not going to use ramping up. They won't use load management. They got to find a different phrase to use. But I'm very, very intrigued to the way people hear that. Bryce getting an extra day off every week. Because it goes back to our initial question of does the concern that you have over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? That plays into it. If they think they're going to give him an extra day here and there to address it, does that impact your plans? If anything to me, it says, better go get that bat. That lineup, with or without him, still feels like it's bat short. Better go out there and address it. And I know Jason Stark mentioned it's very interesting where you could go with the possibilities here of that late inning guy who is not a rental, as well as the big bat. That is the path he sees them going down. Now, the issue is a lot of the people we have discussed would be rentals in one way or another. Now, Bautista would not be a rental, but Mullins in a walk here. And that's not a corner outfielder, that's a center fielder. So how many different names can you start putting together? I, of course, have mentioned a couple of times how much I want Taylor Ward. Now, Detmers doesn't quite fit the late inning mold, but I'm intrigued by his stuff. And I know last time when I was on here, MBD, nearly lost his mind on our YouTube chat, be suggesting Detmers, but could you package two there? Or is there a guy out there in LA in that bullpen that you like alongside a Ward? So it's interesting, the aggression that you will take to go and address that specific need or multiple specific needs here. But I want to go back to this, and I'm curious for people at 610-632-0975. Call or text in the idea of Bryce Harper getting a day off every week on top of whatever days off they have. Are you okay with that? I mean, you don't really have a choice in it, but I know it's going to bother a lot of you. I'm fine with it because ultimately a healthy Bryce Harper is my hope. Let's go to the text line here. We haven't gone to the text line. I apologize. If you've been texting in, you've been going back and forth with Brendan Gunn. I'm sure you're having a great time. He doesn't answer my texts outside of work, but I'm sure he answers yours. What do we got on the text line?
We got Joe in Boston checking in saying he's okay with giving Bryce an extra day off each week, but his reasoning's different. It helps Otto Kemp get much needed at bats. We're going to need Kemp to produce come playoff time.
Who was it again?
Joe in Boston.
Joe, I appreciate you sent that text today. Because if I had been sitting in that chair and Mike was sitting in this chair, I think he would have taken your phone number from the text line and given you a personal phone call to try and address your baseball mind there. I get it. People want Kemp to be a playoff contributor. I would argue if Kemp's a playoff contributor, he has either become something incredible that I did not see, which would be great, save this audio, smack me in the face with it later, or that playoff run's very short. Just saying. Had a nice weekend. Had a very nice weekend. Got to give him credit for the weekend. Very, very excited about the weekend he had. That can't be your solution to a playoff bat. All right, coming up, we got the news at noon. And we're still asking you the question at 610-632-0975. Does Bryce Harper's health at all impact how aggressive you want the Phillies to be at the trade deadline? It's still your chance for tickets. July 4th, folks. Phillies, Reds, 105. You got a 50-50 shot. We're going to ask you, Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly? I'll give you a name, and you got to give me whether or not they were one of those two. They were one of those two things. So much more coming up for you. More baseball conversation. Come up at the 12 o'clock hour. Something Schefter said today that caught my ear on the drive-in. I'm Ray Dunn, in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
1 hour till game one. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. After a rain out last night, the Phillies are set for a doubleheader today against the San Diego Padres. The first game gets underway in just about an hour at 1:05. Mick Abel's going to be on the mound for that one. He's going to be dueling against Nick Pivetta on the Padres. Then for game two, that starts tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez on the mound for that one, facing off against Dylan Cease. Tickets for last night's game that was postponed to tonight. Those tickets are going to be honored at game two, obviously. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers on a one-year deal. That deal's worth $3.6 million. It's the vet minimum. By declining his player option and re-signing it, lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million to $2.3 million, giving the Sixers a little bit more wiggle room. The Flyers made a flurry of signings yesterday in free agency, highlighted by signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a 2-year, $6.7 million contract. The team also signed center Christian Davorak, defenseman Noah Juleson. Oh, my God, excuse me. Center Lane Peterson. Out of breath, Ray. Help me out.
All right, he's doing the update. He was saying that they signed a lot of people. Did we get to the part where the Phillies? Nod your head if we got to the Phillies thing yet. I put my headset down.
All right. Cough is gone.
The 76ers brought back Eric Gordon.
Yes, they did. And it was all brought to you by Indeed.com. You just realized your business needed to hire somebody yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? You just need Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
I got this line. He's Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Vacation.
song for Mobland, which I know strictly because every time it comes on, Mike brings up the fact that it's a song for Mobland, and I still haven't watched it. I'm already done in for Mike Missanelli. And coming up later on the show, I got a little bit of a violation question on a show I'm watching instead of literally every other show that I've been recommended to watch throughout the existence of this show, the show before it, the show before that. Basically every show I've ever appeared on in this station. Everyone, how have you not seen that movie or that show? I don't know, man. I can't help it. We'll get to that. We'll get to the news at noon, but I do want to check in on Brendan Gunn, who's producing the show. If you heard, he just had quite the coughing fit. Are you okay back there? There's a lot of concern in the YouTube chat for you. They think that I'm mad at you for some reason. I just gave the guy a cough drop. I'm concerned about my friend here.
I've never had that happen. I'm still trying to get my breath. It's the worst itch in my throat I've ever had in my life.
So it's funny you say that because I also had the same thing happen to me about a week or so ago. I went on the Holy Nova podcast, which is part of the Big East. Yeah, well, Big East Energy Network, the whole thing. And they want to talk Zion Stanford. He went from Temple to Nova. So they wanted my perspective on, I obviously watched a ton of him while he was at Temple and called games. His game winner was what got us on SportsCenter. So that was pretty cool. And I'm a fan of him. And they had me on to talk, and we got to talk, we got about 20 minutes in, and we're talking about the Big Five, future of the Big Five, and, I had a coughing fit, and I tried to stop the cough, and instead, I started crying. So it looked like I was weeping while we started talking about the Big Five.
Why did he leave me? Why did he leave Temple?
No, it was a Big Five conversation. It looked like I was weeping about the future of the Big Five. I'm like, I promise I'm only emotional because I'm trying to hold in a cough right now, but I'm crying. I felt so bad for them that I was, crying on their podcast, and I wasn't crying intentionally, but... So I feel your pain is what I'm saying. And that's why I carry cough drops with me.
I appreciate it.
I have them all the time. But it's now just past the noon hour, and you're listening to WPEN, WPN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. We want to get you that news at noon with the one and only Brendan Gunn.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the news at noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, so for the news at noon today, we're going to talk about some free agency basketball. Obviously, the Sixers have been pretty quiet outside.
Aaron Gordon's back, bro.
Aaron Gordon's back. Trendon Watford, who Mike couldn't even say his name right yesterday, thought he was a Temple player. That's just where we
Quincy
are.
Wadley was the one he was referring to. He thought Wadley's last name was Wadley.
That's what it was.
Go to bat for Mike on that one.
Well,
watch out.
Dorian Finney-Smith, who came up earlier in the program, he signed with the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, he did.
And a guy that reports on the Lakers for clutch points named Anthony F. Irwin. He has an idea of why, allegedly, Rob Pelinka may have been up to no good slandering his own player. Take a listen.
The word out there is that Rob Pelinka was going out there and talking to teams about Dorian's knee to try to tank Dorian's free agency value and the offers that could potentially come in on him. Word is that got back to Dorian and his camp.
It's Bush League, if true.
So he's going out there saying, his knee's bad, to drive down the value on him to try and bring him back. That's your biggest problem. Pelinka, you got LeBron publicly flirting with the rest of the league, and your biggest problem is Dorian Finney-Smith's knee? Oh, is that really what we have to do? Is that really what... Yeah, that's Bush League. Come on. Be better than that, Rob Pelinka.
That's awful.
That's
awful.
Bad. I hope that's not true. But
you got to hope not.
But to think that doesn't happen in sports all the time probably is very naive. Because he's, they won't go after him. I'm helping you. I'm doing you a favor. I want him back. But his knee's really messed up. The logic right there. Make it make sense. All right, what else we got?
Now, we can hold grudges in this city, and we all love it. But when our former players hold grudges, I kind of like it as well. LaShawn McCoy was out on the golf course yesterday, and a young fan had a message for him because he wanted an autograph, and it sounds like Shady McCoy agreed with the message.
Chip Kelly's an idiot. Yes.
Do you love that he still holds the grudge over 10 years later?
100%. 100%. I do think it's funny because with the way that whole era goes, Chip Kelly becomes a necessary evil where they reset and win a Super Bowl, and how he walks on water now, the whole thing. But yeah, I would still hate him for sure. I mean, especially LaShawn McCoy. This is the hometown, Harrisburg. You're right there. You're the all-time Eagles running back. I would hate him. Think about it. If you're McCoy, you watch the season Saquon Barkley just had, and there's a little part of you Saquon has such less of a hill to climb because I had to be dealt to the Bills for a Kiko freaking Alonso. Like, there's a little, I would be upset. I would be upset still, too. I'm like, 14-year-old me is still a little upset inside of me. Like, I know it all worked out for him. There's been 2 Super Bowl since. I can't really be too upset. But young me is pretty upset. Like, I was mad at that time, and if I was him, I don't think I'd ever get over it.
Yeah.
I would slander Chip Kelly everywhere I can.
Like, whenever I hear Chip Kelly's name, I just think of the beginning to Hit 'Em Up by Tupac, what he says about Biggie Smalls. I know Chip Kelly's lost a little bit of weight since then, but whenever I hear Chip Kelly's name, all I hear is, you fat mother. But moving on.
That's a heck of a way to go. Go ahead. What you got?
So last night in the Commissioner's Cup in the WNBA, you texted me about it earlier, but the Red Panda took a spill.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for her. Caitlin Clark had a message for her after the game, though.
Wait, Red Panda, we love you. Red Panda. Red Panda got hurt at halftime. Feel better. She rides on the bike and does like. We love you, Red Panda. Red Panda, if you're watching. Red Panda. Red Panda, if you're watching. We love you. I don't think Red Panda is on my show.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't think Red Panda's watching the live stream while she's at the doctor's. Get well soon to Red Panda, who is my favorite halftime act.
How am I out of line for not knowing her name?
You're so out of line. Ridiculously out of line.
It's a random halftime act.
Oh, it's not random. It's not a random halftime act at all.
It's Miss Lady doing a couple flake flips while I'm getting a beer.
Dude, you can barely walk up the steps at the arena. Don't you dare.
I can barely do an update.
Yeah, you can barely talk. And you're talking about a woman that's 10.5 feet up in the air, flipping plates, flipping bowls, landing them. Stop it. You stop it.
The higher you are, the faster you come down.
Well, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. There's no way you're getting 10.5 feet up there on a unicycle. You probably couldn't even balance yourself on a unicycle, Brendan Gunn. How dare you come after Red Panda? How dare you?
She's great.
I hope she's doing well. Yeah, she's a wonderful halftime act. I am worried, though, this might be it. You always wonder, like, have we seen the last Red Panda halftime act? It's nice of them to show concern for her, but I'm worried. She's a wonderful halftime act. And I'm worried. I do hope she's doing well. I know I'm yelling at you. I can't believe you don't know who she is. But
I've seen her here and there. I just don't know her name.
Yeah, you just got to put more respect there. Like, I don't know. We should know the GOATs. And that's the GOAT right there.
I will say, the last time she fell was in 2018. Birds won the Super Bowl that year. This time, Birds win the Super Bowl this year. We might need Red Panda to fall more often.
No, dude, what? What a terrible take.
Red Panda falls, Birds win the bowl.
Probably afterwards, because the Birds won it at the beginning of 2018. They won at the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
So it's probably a bad sign for her, actually.
The Birds win the bowl, she falls.
Yeah, it works in reverse in that. If the Birds win the Super Bowl is the first thing, it's bad. Why am I even entertaining this conversation? We got way more important. We have insightful conversation, all right? I have a lot to say about Philadelphia sports, so we're going to get to it, all right? Thank you for doing the news at noon there, Brendan Gunn. Coming up, we'll get back to the main topic of the show and a little bit of smorgasbord of the engagement we've gotten. And coming up also in this 12 o'clock hour, I talked a little bit about it earlier, something that bothers me with the NBA right now. It just tweaks me a little bit. Also, the 76ers did bring back Eric Gordon. I'm going to bring back what I said over the weekend about this mutual interest of bringing him back. What are we doing? Like, okay. I'll save it. Because I could go and diatribe now. I don't want to do that, Philly. I'll get into it. I'm Ray Dunn, in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, everybody, it's Bill Colarulo, and
He violated the terms of the agreement where I don't have to speak to him till at least 1 o'clock in the afternoon with his new show. So, yeah, that's coming up, Unfiltered. I didn't even get coffee. You know, you get like one of these per day where you show up late to a segment. You know, Mike does it, and like there's like once where you get coffee, and that's like your excuse.
No hole in your cup?
I got water still. I need another cup of coffee. All right, you'll get me. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Today's topic we've been going into is, does Bryce Harper's health and the concern over it at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? And that's like to me, it does not. Am I concerned? Yes. Would I change course? No. We had Jason Stark on earlier. He mentioned that it might be an extra day off per week for Bryce Harper, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I know for some people it's a type of rhythm. He's Bryce Harper, man. He wants a day off. He can take a day off if he's hurting a little bit, and it becomes a pain tolerance thing. This rotation is too good. There are too many guys in this window of contention right now that are in their 30s that I'm not, how many more great years am I getting from them for me to just pivot away right now for a little bit of concern? I can't get to that point. If we get into a widely different world over the next month, maybe I'll try and reconsider, but really I don't think I can. I have an expiration date on Zach Wheeler's career, and I know what that is. I have to do my absolute best to build around a team that has that and the star power they have right now. And I'm not going to be less aggressive because what might happen with Harper? If you live worried, you're not going to let yourself enjoy a lot of things. That's life advice right there. I can't get you the right wedding card, but I could give you a little life advice right there. Now, I'm curious because we've had a lot out there, and you get in on that 610-632-0975, as well as you call in, playing a game, Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. And with that guess, you can enter for the chance to win Phillies tickets for July 4th, Phillies Reds 105 down there at Citizens Bank Park. We think we've got 3 correct so far?
3 correct, yes.
Yeah. So, there's a good chance for you. Hop on in. Might be able to get one right. Now, let's go back to the text board on anything, because we've been across the board with some different things. People jumping in with the Phillies conversation. What do we got, Pete Gunn?
Yeah, we just got Sean and Cinnaminson checking in, saying it's okay to give Bryce Harper a day off against a lefty. They can plug Sosa in or Kemp and move Bohm over from third to first, but no days off against the better teams, only weak teams.
What if you go through a week where you're all playing only good teams?
No days off.
No, I got to have a day off. I mean, if you're going through it, there probably going to be a stretch of the schedule here where they end up going through a tough, group of teams where you don't have the ability to just say, oh, well, the weak team gets a day off. Look into the schedule the rest of the way. Just let's play this one out. They go to San Francisco, San Diego next week. Now, San Francisco's having their own problems right now. And you obviously see what they do with San Diego. They have a day off in the middle there. If he needs a day, Friday or Wednesday on top of that day off, yeah, you give him off that game against Waldron. They're going to get Waldron again. I could give him that day off against Waldron. I could give him that back-to-back days out there in San Diego. And then the second half, I'm sure they're going to have a stretch in there where they play, again, back-to-back teams that are pretty good. Where you say, oh, yeah, give them a day off. Honestly, the second half schedule, I don't hate it. Look at here. The end of the season. We go Los Angeles and Arizona. Well, Arizona might not be in it by then. So I guess, yeah, maybe it works out where they'll be able to sit them against weaker teams. I just think to say it can't be against a good team, kind of limiting.
All right, we got Jim and Souderton checking in, saying, I'm so sick and tired of hearing fans assuming Ranger is not going to be back. Lazy fandom really annoys me. Where has Ranger leaving been proven true yet? Middleton is not poor. Let JT walk and you have most of Rangers' money.
Ooh. Would you rather JT or Ranger? 610? Jim, I know we're assuming it, but we're kind of operating under the assumption you have Wheeler, Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez under contract, Painter coming up. Is there a place for? Oh, by the way, you also have Taijuan Walker. Don't forget, $18 million on the books next year for Taijuan Walker. Thanks for that. That's I get you have money coming off the books, but you're probably gonna bring Schwarber back. As we lined out for you yesterday on the show, JT is probably your best option at catcher. So when you look at that, where's the money going to be? I know he's not poor. It's not proven that he's going to be gone. And I saw someone yesterday on the YouTube chat, and I love this is the reality I'm rooting for. This is the reality I'm rooting for. Where they overplay his hand, where Boris overplays the hand for Ranger Suarez. He ends up here on a 1-year contract that's probably a little richer than they wanted to, but why not? We'll have him back for another year. That's the reality I would root for. But I don't think it's been proven anywhere. But I would think logically it would lead you to the fact that he's not going to be here because they have to pay other guys, and they have a pretty stacked rotation on paper for what they want to do going forward in the future. We got anything else out there?
Another one? I got you.
Yeah, one more.
Here we go. We got somebody checking in saying Alec Boehm is the one who has to go. His lack of production continues, and he gets a free pass for it more than anybody.
So, do I want to say it? If they found a deal where they could bring in a third baseman with a little more pop in that deal, I don't know where we go with this. Name someone. This is just a hypothetical here. Where, you get a third baseman and a back-end bullpen arm. And Bohm's a part of that deal. I'm not just saying no to him going. I understand that texter. A lot of people get that texter, well, you can't get rid of Bohm. No, you can't, generate a hole in your lineup there for another third baseman. But I'm not, if someone says, hey, we are interested in that whole Bohm experience, and we're going to give you fill-in-the-blank third baseman, I know Arenado has been the name everyone throws around the last couple. I'm not doing it for Arenado.
Unless they're calling for Bohm, though, asking for it.
Well, and it doesn't make sense necessarily in the way that trade would go down. But the idea, that texter saying you got to move off of Bohm, a lot of people roll their eyes and say, no shot. Oh, come on, you kidding me? And I don't think they're going to do it. However, I'm not telling you that he's a name where someone brings up and I say, click, no way. Sorry, he's not amongst those guys for me.
He's cheap for one more year for a team. He's not up after this year, and then he's arbitration.
Right, which would get you down to, what are you paying for the guy? And I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm shopping him around. I'm just saying if his name popped up or on the phone with someone, it's not are you serious, man? No way. Sue me. Sorry. I would listen to whatever they had to give me. All right? I would listen to it.
Wouldn't you rather exist in a world where you get that power bat at third base and then you can move Bohm over to first base, you move Harper back out to the outfield for a year, then you're not depending on Bohm to be that guy that has to give you the power from the right-hand side because you just found that, and then Bohm can just be Bohm and people can stop complaining.
Bohm just be Bohm. Yeah, sorry, no, I'm not in a Bohm just be one thing.
He can go out there and get you the doubles and the singles, and then you can live with that at the bottom of the order once you get that right-handed power bat in here.
There's a lot of moving parts. Lots of moving parts in that one. And the whole thing is Bohm moving to first in the whole scenario is Harper going back to the outfield, the whole thing. Would people do that?
For a year.
But I don't think, I said earlier, I don't think I'm entertaining any Harper outfield things anymore. Because I don't think with his health they're going to ask him to do that. And Dombrowski didn't seem
That's
set
fair,
to do it.
yeah. They've been reluctant to say anything otherwise up until this point.
Right. So I get it. But I'd be willing to say, hey, Bohm, thanks. Appreciate it. Maybe I'm crazy for that. If you think I'm crazy, that's 610-632-0975. And also, does concern over Bryce Harper's health? I just mentioned it there. It all changed the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline. That's the one thing that changes. I don't think we're talking about first baseman anymore because I don't think he's going back to the outfield. That's the only thing that changed. I'm not changing my aggression for sure. Coming up, someone from this station jumped in on the Cowboys conversation we had earlier. I know someone also on the text board wants to get into that. And Schefter talking earlier today about what the Eagles prioritizing. I understand it. We've all been kind of accepting to it. Should they be prioritizing just that right now? We'll get to that. I'm Ray Dunn, filling in for Mike Missanelli on the Mike Missanelli Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Let's try this update without dying. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. After a rainout last night, the Phillies are set for a doubleheader tonight and today against the San Diego Padres. The first game gets underway in just under an hour at 1:05. Mick Abel's going to be on the mound for Game 1, facing off against Nick Pivetta. Then Game 2 goes down tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez on the bump for that one, going up against Dylan Cease. Tickets for last night's game are going to be honored at tonight's game, the second game of the doubleheader. Fireworks are to ensue afterwards. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers. The deal is the vet minimum deal worth $3.6 million. By declining that player option and re-signing it, lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million to $2.3 million, saving the Sixers a little bit of wiggle room there. The Flyers made a flurry of signings in free agency yesterday, highlighted by signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a 2-year, $6.7 million contract. The team also signed Christian Dvorak, defenseman Noah Juleson, and center Lane Peterson to 1-year deals as well. This update was brought to you by Batteries Plus. When you remember when you had a guy, someone that can fix anything, they still exist at Batteries Plus. Their expert knowledge on batteries will have you on your way and all good to go in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and Union, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Working our way through the 12 o'clock hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show. And one of the valued members of this Mike Missanelli Show is driving me nuts. Brandon Dutz does a tremendous job running our YouTube. I love the kid. Like this guy, he is wonderful. Great guy. I don't know if you saw the Braves just DFA'd Verdugo. I think that's just the news that just came across. Alex Verdugo got DFA'd by the Braves. And I know he's trolling me. He's like, there's your left fielder. And I responded back knowing he's trolling me. He hits left-handed. He said, you don't need more right-handed power. You have Buddy Kennedy. Stop trolling me back there, all right? Do your job. Stop it. Love that kid. But he knows he's going to be able
That's
to troll
his
me.
guy. He knows more about Verdugo than a lot of us over here.
Yeah, stop it. You stop it right now back there, all right? I know you're in control of the buttons on the YouTube. I am livid with you right now. Stop trolling me. I'm trying to do a show over here, all right? I'm trying to put together a program. Now, real quick, before we get to this Eagles thing. I have just a question about priorities in life. And this has to do with the Phillies. So the Phillies game last night gets postponed, right? Pushed to tonight. So I have tickets for the game this evening, which means I had tickets for the game last night. Begun. If you had plans with me tonight, should you be understanding of the fact that because my tickets for the Phillies game are for last night, but it got postponed to tonight, should you be understanding that I then have to cancel on you because the tickets take priority?
Yes, for one reason and one reason only. It wouldn't go for any Phillies game getting rescheduled. If you had plans for me on a random day with nothing afterwards in the Phillies game, I'd be a little PO'd at you for bailing. But it is the firework game. You bought the tickets probably for that reason. Now you're shaking your head. No.
Listen, the fireworks are nice.
That's the only excuse you have.
That's not, okay. So I'm curious for people. You can text in at this one, 610-632-0975. The tickets were for last night. So I had plans for this afternoon, this evening, with a friend. And
you're bailing.
I'm bailing, which was not well received. But I had tickets for last night. The game gets moved to tonight. The tickets I already had.
I'm trying to give you an out, saying it's a fireworks game.
It's not the it's the Phillies. This is my job.
Phillies over friendship. This is my job.
This is what I do. I go to Phillies games.
And they've been losing recently, right? With you there?
No, I got back in the win column.
In the winning
Sunday
column?
night baseball against the Mets, I think I'm back. All right, I got my swagger back. But I'm curious, is it okay to cancel the plans with someone because your Phillies tickets were postponed to another night?
Yes, because it's the fireworks game.
It's
no,
not. Stop. So your answer is no. Because I'm not
if it's a bobblehead night fireworks game, like something that's extra in the tickets that you go out of your way to buy those tickets, yes.
I am going for the Phillies, okay? You can, fireworks, woo, yeah, it's going to be great, all right? They moved up the time of the game by 10 minutes, by the way, for the fireworks shows, which is, stop. Can we stop? 6:35. What has happened to the city I live in that we're starting baseball games at 6:35? All right, also, come on. 7 o'clock, you can stick around for the fireworks. As school's out, kids, all right? Stay up a little bit later. Break with this 6:35 start time. But that point to the side, it's not about the fireworks. It's about the game. I'm curious, 610-632-0975. Is it okay if you cancel plans on a Wednesday night because you had tickets to the game Tuesday night and the game got moved? I'm just going for the Phillies.
How
I'll
often
stay
do
for
you
the
see
fireworks.
the person?
It's someone I haven't seen in a little bit.
Oh, Ray, come on.
I have tickets.
Come on.
I have tickets.
Oh, man. Is there a makeup date? First 2 beers on you this time? If you're listening, friend, make it 5 beers on Ray.
I'll buy the first round. I'm sorry. I have tickets.
And wings.
It's the Phillies. It's the Phillies. What am I supposed to do?
It's the Fightins.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Not go? Oh, I'm curious. I'll get to I see YouTube's now blowing up on that. So let me know if the text line gets into it. I feel like I'm justified. All right. Our main Phillies talking point today: does Bryce Harper's health concerns make you adjust your approach to this deadline at all? The only thing for me, I'm not entertaining the conversation of a first baseman because I don't think they're going to move him to the outfield. That's the only thing it does for me. I'm not going to be less aggressive because of the health concerns. I owe it to this team to give this team an opportunity to win. Now, and you also have your chance to get Phillies tickets for July 4th. We're playing a game. Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. You guessed correctly. You're in the running. Do all that at 610-632-0975. Today, Adam Schefter joined the morning show. And luckily, we've got Brendan Gunn here, who was a part of that morning show because he's actually working 1,000 hours a week, keeping everyone rolling on this station. And Schefter was asked the question. This was in the lieu of T.J. Watt, and can he be traded somewhere? Would the Eagles have interest in it? Schefter went through the Eagles' plans, which I think we've all accepted as their plans, but I'm curious if we should. So he addressed whether or not the Eagles would actually make a play for Watt and basically why they wouldn't.
I think they're well set, and as much as every team would love to have any of these players that you mentioned, the fact of the matter is I think the Eagles are planning and budgeting to pay their own players. And they're going to have any number of young stars from Jalen Carter to the 2 cornerbacks that they drafted last year to have to go pay in the future. They already paid Zach Bond. They paid Saquon Barkley. At some point, they're going to have to address the offensive side and, readdress those situations. So there's so many contractual situations and commitments that you have that it makes it hard all of a sudden to go trade for a T.J. Watt and pay him upwards of $30 million a year. Like, it just doesn't work. Yes, would you love to have him? Of course, every team would. But can you make it work feasibly, financially, structurally? And that would be incredibly challenging for the Eagles to do.
It would be incredibly challenging. And it would make retaining people more challenging. And we've all kind of accepted that they're not going to make one of these moves because of the cap ramifications, because of the fact they want to retain all these guys. And I know I don't want to do the whole just imagine him in an Eagles jersey, what he could do for you. But you sit here and you say, well, Saquon Barkley is one of the strengths of this team. He's a running back in his late 20s. A.J. Brown get towards that portion of his career. And ultimately, you probably will have to make decisions on that defense for guys you will pay and not pay, eventually. I don't think if they find a way to take care of everyone, Howie Roseman, you're going to get your statue anyways. You're going to, the Hall of Fame. To sell out for another parade. Not that T.J. Watt guarantees you that, but it feels like it puts you at a whole nother level here. Should we just be as accepting of the fact that they're just going to, hey, they'll pay these guys later on. It's going to be a long window. We all love the wide open window. No one ever, especially coming off Super Bowl, you never want to say the window's closing because you don't feel that way, and I don't feel that way about this team. But maximizing your chances is also a real thing, and that would maximize your chances. Have we been a little too permissive with this whole, they're just cutting corners to pay people later?
I don't think so, dude. I think I wouldn't make this move because I'd rather pay these guys coming down the pike. Yes, Howie Roseman can probably make it work, but why risk it? Jalen Carter's going to reset the market for all defensive players once he has to get signed. Nolan Smith is coming down. Cooper DeJean is going to be here sooner or later. Quinyon Mitchell. These guys have to get paid. You tie yourself down to a T.J. Watt, and he's been hurt the past couple of seasons. You tie yourself down to somebody that's 30 years and older. You got to hope you win the Super Bowl in the first 2 years, or else you could be in a lot of trouble.
Well, you could also say that about this core. You would hope you win the first 2 years.
I don't know.
The next 2 years, I think you would hope you would win a Super Bowl because, like you said, that defense is going to get expensive. And right now they're up against it when they've paid this offense this way. So if you're going to pay that defense, eventually it's going to come where you can't afford guys. We are, I think we're the idea here is you're sacrificing going after that big name guy right now in the hopes of affordability down the road. And I don't want to doubt Howie Roseman's ability to build a roster. That's not what this conversation's about. But we've been very permissive, it feels like, of a fan base of just they're not going to spend money because it's the wise thing to do for down the road. What does down the road look like?
But what I'm scared of, I'm just thinking about the defensive side right there. But if you go out there, trade for T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, any of these guys that we talked about all offseason long, and then you pay them, what do you have to trade A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith next year? You're going to have to go to the offensive side of the ball at some point.
And that could be the case. And which is why I'm not, there's a reason this came up at 12:30 and I didn't lead a show with the Eagles are doing you a disservice with the way they're planning their roster. I don't think they're really doing you a disservice with the way that it's loaded up. But I'm curious if we've been, it's post-Super Bowl. We're going to be extra permissive because we all went to a parade, man. I had a freaking great time at that parade. And I do have we all have our green-colored glasses on right now this offseason. I'm just curious if anyone else sees that the way I see it, where it's okay, we've been very permissive. Is it a little, have we allowed inaction to set in because, they figured out how to do it so many times, there must be, when I turn this quarter, there must be another rose bed over there.
Yeah, like if they don't win this past season, I don't think people are happy with Nolan Smith. Up until, the last month and a half of the season, the guy didn't show up. And then he had the best all-time sacks in the postseason. Now everybody loves him because it paid off. If that didn't happen, you're not sold on Nolan Smith. You have to go out there and get a pass rusher. So maybe they are just being a little permissive, but it's earned.
And this is shout out to Shil Kapadia, my guy Cliff, and the Philly Special Podcast. They talk about this all the time. Pass rush was mediocre last year. Just had it picked a good time to have a good time. That's why the TJ Watt thing and some of these big name edges kind of like make you feel a little bit bigger. I know that's topic of conversation to get into a ton.
Where does the scheme come into it in Vic Fangio and your faith in him?
That's also fair. That's fair. I'm just curious if anyone else feels that way about it. We'll see. You can chime in 610-632-0975. And speaking of having your green colored glasses on, someone texted in from our station to my topic earlier about the Cowboys. I will address that as well. Coming up next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Wednesday, July 2nd, the Phillies were rained out yesterday.
Working our way through the 12 o'clock hour here. I'm Ray Dunn, filling in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show. Ask you the question today. Does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? You can get it with the 610-632-0975. Also, your opportunity to win Phillies tickets in my version of General Knowledge Wednesday. Because, again, I'm not that knowledgeable, so I'm really just asking a question of Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. We give you a name, you guess one of the two, you're entered to win tickets on July 4th for Phillies and Reds. And again, you can get in with us 610-632-0975, which a lot of people have on something I threw out there last segment. And I'm going to get to another Eagles topic here and something we talked about earlier in the show with counting the Cowboys out of the division. Have we done that as a city? Because someone has chimed in from within our own four walls doing exactly that, and I'm going to address them with that text coming up. But I asked whether or not it's okay, because the Phillies game was scheduled for last night. I had tickets for the game last night. The game gets postponed to tonight. I then had plans for tonight. What should take priority for you? And this is my reputation around here. You're canceling a date, right? No. All right. Just going out, seeing a friend, hanging out, have myself an afternoon, have myself an evening. All right? Everybody has to turn this into more than what it is. A question of just ethics here, all right? Should I have canceled the plans today with my friend? Or should I go to the game? Because I had tickets for the game. It was originally scheduled. Our YouTube chat so far has been pro me canceling. I think mostly. I think most people are canceling. MBD saying that I got to go. Other than that, Randy suggesting to tell the person to show up. And then Dawood saying I got to buy rounds for the person now. So what we got on the text board about this?
Yeah, we got Josh Sass checking in from our YouTube on our text line saying you spent money on the tickets. So regardless if you're there to watch the fireworks, the Phillies, or yell curse words at Thompson all night, I'm sorry, I'm going to the game. If they were true homies, they would understand that you had tickets.
And I think that they should. I felt like I was getting a little bit of flack for canceling the plans. I felt like there was a little bit of flack being thrown my way that I didn't feel like I deserved.
Now we got somebody else checking in saying they would only not go to the Phillies for a funeral or a wedding.
All right, that seems a little bit like, what about rehearsal dinner? Does that fall into the wedding?
It should fall into the wedding. Also, what kind of funeral is that?
Well, it could be a viewing. Could be going to a lot of viewings at night.
But he said funeral. Does that fall in?
I think that falls into the...
Is he ditching the viewing to go catch a ball game?
I would say go to the funeral. All right, go to the wedding. I'm trying to think. Other circumstances in which I would miss a Philly. Birthday for someone important. Like significant other. I mean, a close family member probably would be the ones that I would say I'd miss a Phillies game for. So, yeah, I think...
So, basically, you're telling this friend...
Well, it's not a birthday.
You're crap.
No, I said a birthday.
You're crap.
It's not a birthday. I said a birthday for a close friend or family member. I don't think that's something crazy to say.
We got Joe in the Northeast checking in saying depends on what the plans were, whether it's a violation or not. If it was just to hang out for a couple of beers, go to the game.
All right, so I'm justified in going to the game. I think that's what I've gathered from this.
Somebody said it's time for you to find a new friend. It might have been your friend checking in. You never know.
That could be it. You know what? There's people that don't want to see me anymore, fine. Leave me alone. Now, earlier today, if you missed it, we played Jordan Renan joining us from Monday. And Renan, obviously the ESPN Giants reporter, who in the ESPN NFC's roundtable took the Cowboys to win the division. I don't think the Cowboys are going to win the division. I can't say this enough. I do not believe the Cowboys will win the NFC's. I swear if you hit that, how about that Cowboys drop, I will fight you. We will get into it. There will be an altercation.
I was about to hit it.
We will fight. All right? I don't think they're winning the division. I don't think they're going to finish with a better record than the Eagles. But I do think into December, there's probably going to be a conversation about where the Cowboys are. All right? Renan said this about the Cowboys being in the mix this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think they're right in the mix. Like, to discount them, which I think a lot of people have, is kind of foolish. Like, it happens to teams, right? You have injuries in the NFL, and there's certain injuries you're just not going to be able to overcome, right? And they also made some mistakes last year. We know that. They left themselves super thin. Their running game was non-existent, completely non-existent. It's a recency bias thing, right? But so because they had a bad year last year, all of a sudden people are like, completely discount them. I think if we went back and listened to the tapes last year, there were people that were still looking at the Cowboys as a threat and a serious threat. So really not that much has changed, in my opinion, in that regard.
And people were talking about that like that last year from a national perspective. I think locally we all kind of expect them to take a step back. But again, They were without Dak Prescott for much of that season. In the beginning of that season, they lost some one-score games where you could say, hey, maybe it flips the other way. It could go the other way, depending on the way things shake out. They did miss Micah Parsons in there for a time. You're missing one of your, again, best player on one side of the football and the most important player on the other side of the football. That'll play to you. If those two are out there playing for them all season long, that changes the outlook on them. They won 7 games despite that. And with Dak healthy, they consistently win double-digit games. So, again, while
Why
I can't...
are you so afraid, dude?
It's not a fear thing. It's a question of, have we in this city decided it's just a 2-team race in the division? Because it seems like it has. I got a text as we finished that segment earlier from one Silvana Keller. 2-team division. No explanation. It's just, everyone's like, you know what? They don't exist.
Like, what makes you... Brian Schottenheimer? Like, that guy's going to coach a team to double-digit wins?
Very interesting. Let's talk about coaches and their reputation in the offseason. Who was a coach a year ago that people were like, is that guy really going to lead you where you need to go?
At least I saw him do it before. Like, I'll get you to a Super Bowl. Maybe we were the ones that were wrong because it's the city of Philadelphia. Brian Schottenheimer, dude, these guy's been around forever. He's never got sniffed for a head coaching job.
I think it's an uninspiring hire, too. I'm not telling you that I think they're winning the Super Bowl. They found a way to win regular season games before with Dak Prescott with coaches I haven't been inspired by. McCarthy's been rolling off the fact that Rodgers won a Super Bowl for how many years?
Yeah, but he's an NFL coach. Like, Brian Schottenheimer is not going to go out there and win double-digit games. I swear on anything.
Whoa, no, not anything. All right,
not anything.
Yeah, seriously, let's not swear on anything. All right, and the thing is, I'm never going to take the other side of this. Like, well, let's do it because I don't want to be sitting there like secretly like, yeah, they win another one. I'm going to get my 10 wins here for them. I'm just saying that I think it's a little bit more nuanced of it's just a 2-team division conversation.
Like Miles Sanders? Javonte Williams?
Yeah. Listen, I don't think they're going to have a great running game. I think they can pass their way past a lot of teams. Like, Dak, when healthy, they can throw for 4,500 yards. They can win 10 games. Like, the Steelers. We make a joke they'll go 10-7. Do you think the Steelers will win the Super Bowl this year?
No.
Okay, but the Steelers find a way to go 10-7. They can find a way to go 9-8. And, yeah, they got Tomlin, and that helps, for sure. But, like, is there a way that bad teams in the NFL can rack up a couple of close wins?
Yes, but they're also playing that tough schedule. Now, granted, they're not playing that first place schedule, but that's only 2 of the games. A lot of the hard games the Birds are facing are based on divisional opponents.
By October, we'll know whether or not they're good. Because they're going to fall off late. Like they have the makings of a team that could start 6-2.
Yeah, and the NFL helped them out that way.
And limp to the finish because their schedule at the end is we're going to know by October you'll be able to call me an idiot. I mean, right now you could call me an idiot. That's kind of the risk I run by being on here. But Savannah's saying 2 teams, and then there was no explanation to it. We just hate the Cowboys, and we want the worst for them. I want the worst for them. I hate them. I just think by doing that, you are discounting a team in this division that I think has the potential to, again, be a little bit better than average and be in the conversation late in the season. That's all this conversation's about. I know Mike tried to paint me as a guy that's throwing money down on the Cowboys winning it. The YouTube chat thinks I'd have him going to the Super Bowl. Brendan Gunn apparently thinks I'm scared.
I just didn't think you were going to come on the airwaves and be Drew Pearson at the draft in 2018.
And that's exactly,
17.
see, and this is what everyone does. They try and paint you as something you're not. That's not what I'm doing here. All right, whatever. You know what? Listen, I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. I've been talking about what I can't stand about the NBA. We got to a little bit earlier. We'll get to that. Also, Eric Gordon coming back. The one thing that drives me a little crazy about this. He's back. It's fine. It's a minimum contract. Yeah, I'm not worried about money. It's not my money. I'm worried about rosters and the construction of it. I'm Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Doubleheader action for the Phils. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update, and it's brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. After a rain out last night, the Phillies are set for a doubleheader today against the Padres. The first game gets underway in just about 15 minutes. Mick Abel's going to be on the mound for the Phils in that one, facing off against Nick Pivetta for the Padres. Then the second game goes down tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez on the bump for that one, facing off against Dylan Cease. Tickets for for last night's game that was rained out are going to be honored for tonight's game, not this afternoon. So if you're on your way there now, turn around, go back for tonight's game. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers on a one-year, $3.6 million deal. It is for the vet minimum. By declining his player option and re-signing, it lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million down to $2.3 million, giving the Sixers a little bit of extra wiggle room. The Flyers made a flurry of signings in free agency yesterday, highlighted by signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a 2-year, $6.7 million contract. The team also signed center Christian Dvorak, defenseman Noah Juleson, and center Lane Peterson to 1-year deals yesterday as well. This update was also brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes Dreams days are back with offers on vehicles like the 2025 E-Class, CLE Coupe, C-Class, and EQE sedan. Hurry it now through July 31st. Learn more at mbusa.com/dream. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and Union, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Texting, the easiest and most convenient.
Live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. Jumping off point today, does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? You get in on that 610-632-0975 and playing a game with you, which I'm going to play with B-Gun right here, because this is how easy it is for you to get in and potentially have yourself in the mix for Phillies tickets for July 4th against the Reds at 105. Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. I give you a name. You guess one of those two things, you get it correct, you're entered.
As long as it's not Dan Vladar.
Arthur Middleton. 1800s Philly or Declaration of Independence side?
Middleton, he sounds like a Brit. I'm going to go Declaration of Independence.
You got that one correct. You're pretty good at this game. I got to give you credit. I can love seeing the way the mind thinks on this one. He was from the South Carolina Declaration, and he was educated in Britain.
There you go.
Good work by you. You know so much about the history of this country.
If only I knew Flyers free agents.
It's all right. You're trying your best, and we appreciate that about you. This is about to be hour 8 of radio for you, which means you've been up since 3:30, and you're still coming off of the emotional high of, your personal life, everything going on. You've had a lot happen in the last 2 weeks. You're probably starting to think about when things are going to be, who's going to be on the part of this or that, the whole thing. There's a lot going on in your life.
There's nothing going on in my mind. My brain is mush.
Yes, because of all the things going on in your life. Also, today, National Crimpet Day. First pitch for the Phillies, I guess, is going to be thrown out by Butterscotch Crimpet. Which brings me to something real quick before I get to the Sixers point. I'm having a little bit of a struggle in my life. I go to this bodega every morning now. That's been my new breakfast spot because stopping for breakfast has become a problem for me because of the traffic. And every time I find a route I think that works for me, it just doesn't. There was a typical place that I was going to now for breakfast. Now I've turned into bodega where I get a La Colombe can and I get a coffee cake. From the Tasty Cake, the whole thing. Problem is, at the bodega, I'm charged a different amount almost every day. So there's a woman that is usually there that charges me $5.50. She did charge me $5 one day, but it has mostly charged me $5.50 for the same thing. Then there's another man who works there who charged me $5 one day, charged me $6 another day. Now, the owner of the place charged me $5 for the things the other day. This has now been going on for like 3 weeks. Like, I come in every day. I'm like, Mike, today it cost me whatever for this. For the little can and for the little tasty cake. Am I too deep into this now? Because now they recognize me from coming in. Am I too deep to ask what I should be paying?
Nah,
do I have a right as a consumer to ask what I should be paying?
If the owner charged you $5 and somebody's going to try to charge you $6, I'm saying let me speak to the owner. I'm being a Karen. Done. Change my name to Karen.
I'm putting my card down too. So they're just typing it into the thing. They're typing in the price. Nothing gets scanned here, and it's not cash. So I'm just tapping every time, and I see I'm tapping a different total every time.
The same exact 2 things every day.
Same 2 things every day. A La Colombe can with the little vanilla, label on it is very good. Big fan of it. I also love going down to La Colombe down there in Fishtown. So I love my coffee from there. And a little tasty cake.
Then you run the risk, though. What if it is $6 and the other people are messing up? And then you ask about it, and then you're out that extra $1 here and there every once in a while.
Should I not ask? Like, a part of me wants to just kind of see how this goes. Because it's almost like every day I'm either suffering from inflation or deflation. Every day. I'm curious what people think I should do in this scenario. Because it's become a big crisis in my life. On top of the whole not going to the Phillies game thing. This is just something that's happened to me. Thank you. It's tough. I live a tough life. Nobody talks about this. Nobody talks enough about this, how difficult my life is. But am I wrong to ask them, what is the price for this? Or should I go in, this is the other thing I've considered, go in and just get the can, see what it costs me, and then go in and just get the tasty cake and see what it costs me, and then try and figure out what I'm being mischarged for?
I would do that.
The problem is I'd like both of those things together. I don't want to walk back in and
then you run back in and say, oh, man, how did I forget my coffee cake? Let me go get that.
I don't like looking like an idiot either. I know what I do for a living, and I know for 4 hours a day there's people out there, they're like, gosh, that idiot they put with Missanelli. But I don't like looking like an idiot. So, all right, whatever. If you have any advice for me, I would really appreciate it. I'm struggling with it. I don't know what to do. It's right around the corner from my place. It's a nice little bodega. I don't want to upset anyone. to the Sixers' point, something that's upset me. So they bring back Eric Gordon. And in a world that only makes sense when it comes to salary caps in sports, they're going to pay him more money, but it's going to be less of a salary cap hit for them. I don't have a problem in a vacuum with bringing back Eric Gordon. All right. He could be a mentor to VJ Edgecombe. They've got the relationship from the Bohemian national team. Like, I got that. And honestly, you didn't really get to see him last year at all. And, like, if this team is healthy, he says, realizing half of you rolling your eyes, like, all right, the fit there with Embiid might be there. And, he's the guy that can shoot. And shooting's valuable in this league. And he's a veteran minimum. Am I going to lose my mind over Edgecombe or over Gordon coming back? No. Problem is, Edgecombe took 77 because he's paying respect to Kyle Lowry. And there's also been the reports that Kyle Lowry wants to be back. And there was conversation with, like, the 76ers wanting him back. Are we all cool with them just using 2 roster spots for guys that basically are hey, that's his guy's veteran? Like, Lowry's become Jared McCain's veteran. Like, that's, like, the guy he looks up to, the guy that talks to all the time. And, like, Nick Nurse likes having him around because he's a veteran leader. And Eric Gordon apparently is going to be that for Edgecombe. And Morey wants to have him around so that Edgecombe can learn from him. Are we just handing out roster spots to, like, hey, this is, going to be his big brother in the league? Like, these are 2 guys. One's middle 30s to, that mid-30s area in Gordon. Lowry's going on 30. I wish. He's going on 40. Like, are we all just okay with let's just hand out these 2 roster spots because, they're good veterans. They could be good for our young guys. I
could argue that's more valuable than getting a guy in here that's not going to move the needle for you anyway. This team is in a spot where they're probably not going to get it done with this current roster. Why not get some veterans in here that can, mentor the younger players a little bit?
But like
that's where I'm at right now.
Wasn't the whole thing this offseason like getting young and athletic?
That's what they said.
Right. Give me a shot in the dark on someone that might turn into something instead of someone that I know what they are, and they're just really there to, hey, this is how I got good.
But did you really believe what the Sixers said?
Yes, I believed you want to get younger and more athletic. You couldn't have gotten older and less athletic. Like, that was not an option this offseason. Like, I think he said that because that was legitimately like.
Well, when you talked about last season old and non-athletic anymore, Eric Gordon was one of the first names you brought up.
Which is why I'm asking you, can we sit here and say there's 2 Russ? I'm okay with 1. I'm okay with 1 veteran leader that's good for your young guys. Bringing back 2 to me is 2 spots that are taken up by guys that I know what they are. And with all due respect to both of them, they've had good NBA careers. Kyle Lowry and Kyle Lowry at this point, when you talk about him, you say great Philadelphian, great NBA career. But what is he going to do at this point to move the needle for you? But also that's the same thing with Eric Gordon. You can have 1 here to service hey, this is what it takes to be a pro in this league. This is what it takes to turn into the player that I turned into. I think having 2 of them there is a little redundant. And at some point, you say, yeah, well, what does it matter? We got to get guys out on the floor. Like, how many minutes are these guys going to really play for you? Like,
yeah, not a lot. You're going to end up in the same position you were last year, where it's a bunch of random nobodies at the end of the season.
Which, if I know that's the end point, why would I go to the same start point? But that gets into a bigger conversation. And you sent me this, and I do want to get into this because I had this on the show sheet before the draft, after the draft. I talked about it Sunday on the weekend here. The buy-in and the excitement. Where, like, I don't think there's anyone that's sitting. Well, there are some people sitting out there. One's coming up at 2 o'clock that, they get back into the East. They could be contenders in the East. Yeah, all right. And I see some of these, like, aggregate accounts tweeting out the young core that they've assembled is so great. Can we breathe? I know some people listen to me talk. Like, can you breathe? Can we breathe? But buyback, and I'm not talking about buyback to contender status, but buyback in terms of how much of your sports fandom, sports attention will they take? You sent me something last night. And I'm going to let you explain it. And then we're going to have a dynamic over it with the Sixers and how much of your sports attention you're going to allow them to have following this draft going into next season. I will get to it. We'll break it down. We still have everything else on the table here for you. 610-632-0975. You can get in with your chance to win the Phillies tickets for July 4th. And I know there was a little bit of engagement on the Shefty and whether or not the Eagles would actually go after a big star. We're all pretty permissive to it. Should we not be? Again, I'm pretty cool with it, but I'm curious for folks how they feel about it. You can get in with us, 610-632-0975. I'm Ray Dunn, here on the Mike Missanelli Show today on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincade and
Yeah, sorry. There's some times where I find myself back there. Hi, I'm Ray Dunn, in for Mike Missanelli today here on the Mike Missanelli Show, where my mic's obviously not on at the start of segments, ever, or during the commercial break, ever. So, like, I will sing along or talk along with some of these commercials because I've heard them 1,000 times. And I've heard this return music a lot, where I just start going into it. So that's one of the ones where I sing along to. If they ever cut to me on the YouTube, like during a break, like you would just see me mouthing out like 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Because, sometimes you start to hear things, your brain starts to go. If you've listened to me at all, my brain has started to go a long time since I've been here. Today, we just talked about it, and the 76ers obviously have the draft that they have, and I'm excited about VJ Edgecombe. I know there's people out there, ace, all fired up. And the excitement for VJ Edgecombe at least gave me something to buy back on. And this backcourt has given me at least a little something to be intrigued by. But I got an email last night from Brendan Gunn, and I do appreciate this about Brendan Gunn, because I say, hey, man, throw me some things like that you are passionate about that you want to get into, because that's how this works. We kind of have a nice little dynamic here, back and forth. It usually gives me something where He is a good read on how I do things. And he sends me this one as the top topic that he's intrigued on. And I want to hear your takeaway with the 76ers following this draft and as we move through this offseason in terms of your buyback or your interest level going into 25-26.
Yeah, I mean, free agency opened up the other day. You had Gershon Yabusele leave, and a lot of people were outraged. And then they signed Trenton Watford a couple hours before, lose him. Then they signed Eric Gordon. And people are losing their minds over the Yabusele thing. And all I'm sitting here thinking to myself is, wow, I don't care about any of these moves. And it sucks to say, like, I love the Sixers. But I just feel an absolute nothingness. I'm past the point of apathy. I feel like a Buddhist monk. I feel like an absolute nihilist. Like with the Sixers, nothing matters at all. With this current regime, as long as it's still here, nothing is going to change. You're not getting out of the second round. You maybe get into the playoffs, but then you're not winning a series. You're definitely not winning two. As long as Daryl Morey's here, as long as Nick Nurse is here, and the battery of Embiid and Paul George are your best two players, everything is meaningless with this team, and it's heartbreaking to say. But, like, I can't get up. I can't get down. It's absolutely nonsense. Like, I don't care that Yabusele left because guess what? He's going to come in and play the four for what? A team that's going to get dog-walked in the second round of the postseason at the very best. And at the very least, your best two players aren't going to play more than 40 games, and it's all going to be for nothing. You're going to get another young star here, and then maybe you got to build around Maxey and a couple other guards. But for me, the way I'm looking at the Sixers team right now and all the moves they're making this offseason, it's meaningless because next season is meaningless right now with the current form of the battery of the organization.
Hey, man, I just want to say, you can't get up. Dr. Aviana Pell is out there for you. I know I heard you say it there. I'm concerned about you. But when you go through that whole back and forth here, I got you. Like, in terms of buying back to, like, championship hopes and, like, contending in the East, like, the East is wide open. That's also my reaction to, like, I've decided that's going to be my reaction to everything that happens this offseason. Like, you know, team makes a deal. Well, you have to take into account the East is wide open because that's literally the fallback for everyone. I personally am not getting enamored with where they can go. But I asked this question on Sunday, and I could tell by the response I got to it that nobody was with me on. I have found a little bit of excitement in the idea of what this backcourt could be and how you can mix and match with it from a watching basketball perspective and from watching a development perspective of what is McCain, how can Maxey maneuver with these guys. BJ Edgecombe, you know, we had the quote this yesterday while they're meeting with the media. Keith Pompey took it talking about, I'm going to try and grow as a point guard here. Well, if Edgecombe thinks he's going to be more on the ball, what does that mean for Maxey? What are they trying to develop with him there? Is that something they're going to focus on for him? I could get excited about little pieces growing into something.
For the future.
The overall dark cloud of the unknown of Embiid's health, the unknown of George's availability, like that, I will not say that supersedes that. But I have found a little bit of a crack of excitement about what could be for those guys and for their development and to see what they could be.
But this is where I come back to. Like, if they stink this year and Daryl Morey's plan falls apart, what are we even going to do with all these young players? Is the next regime going to come in and look at them the same way, or are they going to look at them as Daryl Morey guys and then blow the whole thing up?
And there's a chance that happens.
Like, I don't want to build a roster with two small guards. What if that's the next president of basketball operations is the point of view?
You think that's going to be the next point of view? The next point of view for the next executive is going to be, okay, how can I turn this somewhere different? Like, I'm not going to try and sell you should think that this team's going to compete. I'm not going to try and sell you that you should think that they're going to get back to Embiid being an MVP form, because it's not genuine. Like, that to me, I don't have that genuine belief that they're going to get there. I can tell you that for me, there's an excitement because I think we've now gone to the point where everyone's so down the organization. Anyone with Sixers think on them. Like, people have an opinion. Like, the Desmond Bane trade happens and people are like, Maxey's got to go. Like, you got to find a way to get out of Maxey. And I think some people, given the fact that we talk a lot about the fact he's not, you know, an A1, like he's going to lead you to a championship player, that people ultimately like start to undervalue what he is. And I think that I'm excited to see Maxey continue to grow. And I think it's very interesting they bring in one of Maxey's best friends in Watford. Like, I think they realize, hey, the guy that's going to actually lead this locker room, he's not going to be he can't be the best player on the floor. Can he be an emotional leader for a really good team? I think so. And I think that's important when you look at where they're going. But But I get excited for his growth. I get excited for what the backcourt mix and matching can be. And it's me probably trying to find a little bit of sunshine in what is a very stormy time for this organization. So the draft at least gave me something to think about the future with that is not just, wow, this stinks.
But then I have to go out here and listen to people say there's hope for next season. And I appreciate the optimism. But talking about Embiid, what if he plays 50 games? In what world are we talking about? Right now they're saying Ramona Shelbourne, they hope he's going to be ready by training camp. The guy hasn't played in 9 months. What do you mean he's going to be ready by training camp? Hopefully.
Yeah, then they said around training camp. And that was a Morey thing. He said, he should be ready around training camp.
They're blowing smoke up our rear ends.
I got you. Listen, I'm not, what you're saying right now, you have people right now at the steering wheel nodding their heads like, He's echoing. I don't think you're far off. I'm not telling you not to feel the way you feel about the organization. I'm just telling you that the one thing that I'm allowing myself to find right now in this is a little bit of, okay, I can look forward to watching this guy play basketball. I can look forward to this guy's growth. I can look forward to, wow, that's a really intriguing backcourt. And no, it is not me telling you that I think that they're going to change the championship hopes of this team this upcoming season. If your only buyback is, I need to watch a team that's going to compete for a championship, I can't give you that buyback.
See, I could get on board with you if we're talking about prime process era. Watching the young guys grow when you got Embiid and Paul George and Maxey on max deals. You're supposed to be competing for a championship, and this is the dream I was sold for 10 years when you sucked on purpose. And now you're finally at the peak of what you're supposed to be. You had that max slot you promised us for 3 summers in a row, and that max slot was Paul George? Come on.
I got you.
I'm sorry.
Again, listen, I'm letting you get it out. I'm letting you just... I'm letting you vent here because I don't want to sell you something I don't believe. If I said to you, I think this team's going to compete and I'm looking forward to the winter because of that, I'd be lying to you. I don't think they are. So I'm not going to sell you on that. I'm going to tell you that you being nothing matters to you, to me, it matters to me because of what I'm going to end up watching, because of what I want to see in the growth of these guys. I don't have to tell you to come back in. Listen.
I'm going to watch.
Right. But it's you're not going to feel anything. I'll feel something.
It sucks. That's heartbreaking.
Now here's a relative time works here. Saying the NBA Eastern Conference is wide open is like saying Sydney Sweeney is single. It may be true, but what does that do for me? Yeah. That's a great way to place it. It doesn't matter to any of us. Glenn Powell, maybe. The Sixers are not Glenn Powell. All right? Coming up, a little bit more on the 76ers, and we'll get back into that Eagles conversation because I know a lot of people wanted to jump in on whether or not they're going after a star. I mentioned VJ Edgecombe, mentioned in point guard. What does it tell you a little bit about the possibilities that they might go to? And why that's, again, it's a little thing for me. I can't do too much on it. I can't tell you to get all fired up about it. But I'm Ray Dunn hanging out with you, in for Mike Missanelli here on the Mike Missanelli Show at 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Game 1 is underway. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Game 1 of the doubleheader after last night's Phillies-Padres game was rained out is now underway. We're through 1 inning. Still tied 0-0. Phils have no hits. Nick Abel is on the mound for them as well. Nick Pivetta is on the mound for the Padres. They went down 1-2-3 in that first inning. Then the second game of that series, or a doubleheader, goes down tonight at 6:15. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound for that one, facing off against Dylan Cease. Tickets for last night's game are good to be honored at tonight's game. After declining his player option over the weekend, Eric Gordon is returning to the Sixers on a 1-year, $3.6 million deal. It's good for the vet minimum, but by declining that player option and re-signing it lowers his cap hit number from $3.4 million down to $2.3 million, obviously opening up a little bit of wiggle room for the Sixers. The Flyers made a flurry of signings yesterday in free agency, including signing goaltender Dan Vladar to a 2-year, $6.7 million deal. That highlighted the signings yesterday. This update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz Dream Days are back on offers on vehicles like the 2025 E-Class, CLA Coupe, C-Class, and EQE Sedan. Hurry it now through July 31st. Learn more at mbusa.com/dream. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ray Dunn in for Mike Missanelli on the Mike Missanelli Show. Giving you your chance to win Phillies tickets for Friday. Phillies Reds, 105 start, July 4th. And in honor of that, we're doing Declaration of Independence signer or 1800s Philly. No. I think people could name more Declaration of Independence signers than 1800s Phillies. It's closer, though, than we'd like to admit. I'll just say that. I think it's a lot closer of a gap than we'd like to admit. We've gotten some good guesses so far. B-Gun's 2 for 2. We got a couple people already entered. And if you want to get in at 610-632-0975, get yourself a chance to win. Now, I posed a little bit of a personal problem. 1 o'clock hour. I posed actually 2 over the last 2 hours. I got a lot of problems. And if they gave me 4 hours to just discuss what's wrong with my life, we could probably fill the show. But I've been going to this bodega. They're charging me $5, $5.50, or $6 for the same 2 items every time. Do I bring up the pricing difference at some point? Brendan Gunn, you said the text line gave me some advice.
Yeah, we got mixed reactions on this one. We got somebody checking in saying, keep the little things in your life exciting. Keep that price a mystery. Sometimes you win a buck back on a scratch-off. Sometimes you don't. Have some fun, Raymond.
Raymond? They hit me with a Raymond?
No name of their own, but yes, they hit you with the Raymond.
What's the area code on this?
215.
All right, I don't have any family members with 215s. I was going to say, it's like a parent, a grandparent, aunt, uncle. Raymond. All right. I didn't know you guys knew me like that.
We also got somebody checking in saying, I don't mind paying what something costs. $5, $6, it doesn't really matter. But if it costs $5 and they're overcharging you, that is wrong. I would ask. And if it does end up costing you $6 going forward, who cares about the buck?
I do. That's why I'm not asking. That's why if it's actually $6 and they've been being nice to me, because it's like, wow, look at this guy. I'm sure he's look, I mean, you can tell by the way I dress. I'm not not exactly rolling in it. Like, I think that I'm also having La Colombe and tasty cake for breakfast. I think they probably realize he's not exactly rolling it. My grocery list is not that long.
We also got Jack in Harrisburg checking in. He thinks he has the solution for you, or maybe the problem. He says, I bet if you paid cash, it would always be the same. Some of them are probably charging you that upcharge for a credit transaction, and some aren't.
So, yeah, that's what I thought maybe like the credit transaction, but you would think then the owner of the place would have the best interest of the place in mind to upcharge me, but him charging me $5 just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense. And then somebody checks in saying, why are you buying the butterscotch crimpets? They suck now that the new owners came in.
I buy the coffee cake. I don't get the butterscotch crimpet. I get the coffee cake.
Oh, this guy needs to listen.
Yeah. Pay attention. So now we got the chime. Well, now here's a couple people at KD of Bluebell checking in here. How do you not know the real price? Because they're not scanning anything. I'm just picking it off the shelf. And I'm going up there, and they're typing it in. They're just typing in the price to a little credit card thing. It says use a debit card, no extra charges. They're typing it into the machine. So it's not like I'm being upcharged because they realize it's a credit card and not a debit card. They're just typing in the machine. They don't ask me credit. They just see me holding the card. So I don't know. That's what I'm confused about. It's the whole point of the conversation we're having. I'm confused. Some people are saying don't do it because it's such a small difference in price, which I think is probably why I'll stop doing it. I also like the text that says it's a nice, exciting thing. It is. I'm enjoying coming in every day, and Mike can attest to this. We're sitting there getting ready for the show, and I said, $5.50 today, Mike. $5 today, Mike. $6 today, Mike. Like, it's become a fun little thing for me to say, for the time we're getting ready for the show.
Now, what if it is $5.50? And they charge you $6 one day and $5 the other day, and then they just make up for it on the third day, $5.50.
Are they really watching me that much?
They're just they're playing a trick on you.
I'm not that bright. You could do something a little bit more like entertaining than that type of trick on me, please. All right, let's go back to the phones here because we had the Sixers back and forth about pretty much. I don't want to say your lack of interest, but your lack of emotion.
Yeah, it's meaningless.
Yeah, you've totally lost hope, which I think you're around the rest of the city here. We got David in Philly chiming in on those Sixers. David, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Real quick, 2 things. I heard what you said about the parity in the league and how you are kind of off board with it, I agree. I'm kind of sick and tired already of, like really good teams going on like championship runs deep into the playoffs and then maybe staying together for like 2 years at the most and then separating for one reason or other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like if you're a good team, you should be together for maybe 5 or 6 years. Who knows?
And that's the tough thing, especially with the second apron now, with the way it's going in the NBA. I just feel like the story, and maybe I'm romanticizing the history of the league a little bit with this, but like I think about the Pistons in the late '80s and the fact that Jordan had to get past them. Like that was a big storyline. Can you pass the Pistons, get past the Pistons, and start your own dynasty here? Or like you look at, in the West, the Lakers had that nice run, and it was like, okay, who can reestablish after this? Or, what team can knock this team off? I'd like to see that idea, and I don't think the apron's going to allow for that. Player movement has also played a role into not allowing that. And I also think now, like, 6 o'clock on Monday when NBA free agency opened, it was kind of lame. It was lame, I expect, notification something big happening, and I'm getting, again, Dorian Finney-Smith was, the first thing I saw. I was like, all right, well, that's not moving the needle for me to get excited about basketball. But,
yeah, I agree.
David, you want to play our game here to get into the Phillies tickets?
Well, I had one more thing to say.
All right, what you got?
It's like along the lines of what Brandon Gunn said. Like, I feel like they just can't let go of the Embiid thing. Like, they keep trying to. It's like trying to take a cross-country road trip in like a Range Rover that's like 300,000+ miles. Leaking like God knows what everywhere, check engine light on, and they're thinking like they're somehow going to make it from here to California with no issues. They keep trying to do that every single year, and it's like, what are y'all thinking? Like, you can't keep Embiid.
I got you. No, it's kind of like taking my O2 Avalon, like a cross country. My O2 Avalon barely made it across this state. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying with that. I think that's kind of mean because, I think at the peak, my O2 Avalon was never quite Embiid level when it came to talking about a car. But, all right, let's play the game with you real quick. I'm going to give you a name. You got to tell me whether it's Declaration of Independence signer or an 1800s Philly here. I'm going to give you Arthur Irwin.
What was the second choice? You said an 1800s Philly?
Philly. Played for the Phillies in the 1800s.
Arthur Irwin. That sounds like a 1800 baseball player name.
That's right, it was. David, we're putting you on hold. We got you in the running now for the tickets on Friday. So, again, you give us a call, give us a little content, then get you entered to win July 4th tickets for the Phillies and Reds 105. And because of that, we're doing Declaration of Independence signs. Arthur Irwin for the Phillies. So that's an 1886 Philly right there. Shortstop. Offensive numbers not there. Defensively must have been superb because the WAR looks incredible for him as compared to his teammates. So a guy that played 3 years and 3.5. Oh, midseason move in 1889. Went to the Nationals. The last year of the Washington Nationals. That version of the Washington Nationals. They traded for him. They had full up shop. It's just too expensive.
I do have a question for you based on what he just said.
Yeah.
Because you earlier said you're looking at the younger players, what they're going to do at guard. You didn't mention Embiid. What are your thoughts on him going forward? Like, can you count on him or just whatever he gives you as a cherry on top?
Can I count on him for what?
To be anything meaningful come postseason time, give you 50-plus games. Somebody you can count on and build around, like the centerpiece.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, like, you know, we was 11-11 on this show a couple weeks ago, and Mike said to make a wish, and I said for Embiid's health. That's what it is. Like, I'm wishing for something that I don't think is happening. Like, every other logical thing points me to believe that this is, like, I've seen the best of him. Basically, the only thing that I have is the delusion in my mind that he might be able to get back to it. Like, the idea that, okay, his knee is going to be recovered. It's going to be great. Like, I haven't gotten enough information about his knee. And like I said earlier in this show, my MD comes from WebMD. I'm not a doctor. Don't play one on television. Won't play one on radio. I can't tell you the health of his knee. I could tell you a guy in his 30s that's had chronic knee problems that did not look like himself last season when he was out there concerns me about his ability going forward. I'd love for him to be a centerpiece. I'd love for him to make this incredible recovery. basically the one thing I have is hope. And again, I'll say it. I've said it once. I'll say it 1,000 times. If he does make that recovery and he looks any form of Embiid that we could imagine, the Kawhi doctor that he went to deserves a statue, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. All right? That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Now, in your heart of hearts, are the Sixers on the same page, or are they going into the season thinking he's still going to go out there?
Oh, they think they're going to. I mean, they don't really have a choice but to think he's going to go out there.
Why do they not have a choice?
Because who's going to take him?
Nobody has to take him, but you can build for the future and say, hell with it. Like, I'm going to go out there and build the team without him on the team. If he has to stay there, he has to stay there. But I am not going out there and pretending like we're going to win and, passing on an Ace Bailey because I have to build around these guys with the shots. It's ridiculous.
You're upset they passed on Ace Bailey.
A little bit.
Yeah,
just because of the way they're building the team, man. Like,
I'm good. I'm good on that. I'm good. I'll pass on that one. All right. Come on. We can go take a little back and forth on that one. Also, to close the show, I have a little personal question for you because I think that I'm going to upset the entire audience here, and I would like to upset the entire audience before I get out of here and then come back here tomorrow and have to deal with them. It's a little away from sports, but it also kind of focuses. We've talked a lot on this show about how I don't watch things. I'm watching something that I think is going to upset our entire audience. We'll get to that coming up. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you here in for Mike Missanelli here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
ESPN.
I'm apologizing in advance. Sorry to management for doing this. We're all living under a rock. We know the Phillies game's on. All right. I imagine some people are here because they're livid with what they've been getting with the Phillies game. Mick Abel. All right, folks. I get it. He had a nice flash to start his career. And he's been a prospect, and he's someone that they seem to think is someone, or some of you think he could be a part of the future. There's a future for him in baseball, given the stuff that he has. There are so many of you that are so reluctant to trade this guy because you think he's so much a part of the plans. There's a reason why a season ago people were down on his future, his ability to command his stuff. Like, the guy walked 5 guys, did not get out of the second inning. The Phillies are down 5-0. This is a nightmare for a doubleheader. You have to go to Max Lazar in the second inning. To all of you that just want to hold on to Mick Abel because you're holding on to a young prospect you believe in, stop it. Stop it. It's not good for you. I don't think he's tanked his value entirely. But you have seen that there are flaws in his game. For him to contribute the best contribution he can make to this team, and I've said this all season, after the Pirates game, after the Blue Jays game, after every single start, the greatest asset he is for this team is to be moved. Now, I'm going to be subjected to a loss of my record tonight because they're going to have to blow through the bullpen here in the first game of the doubleheader. Or we're going to have to... Who's the pitcher now? Now that Weston Wilson's not here? Who's the emergency pitcher? Am I going to watch Otto Kemp on the mound? Do we know? I forget who the position player that will pitch now that Weston Wilson's not here. Because that's the role with... That's what you might roll with. And I see MBD making fun of me. Is it too late for me... for me to go back on my plans that I had tonight instead of going to the game? I'm going to the game. All right? Like, the people that this has been something that drives me nuts. Look at the organization's plans in the starting rotation. Do you think he's got a role next year in it? Probably not. If they get what they want out of Painter. Plus, they still got $18 million committed to Taiwan, who I know he's in the bullpen. Yeah, but like, this is why he was okay to be traded. He still is okay to be traded. People that are just, keep Abel, keep it. No. They do. I'm not going to throw a fit about it, but if you take a trade off the board for an impact player because you're afraid of what Mick Abel might become, I have a problem with you. I'll be honest with you. I have a problem with you. Today's an example of why. 5 walks. Oh, all right. That's it. Yeah, see, MBD Ray's getting 4 frames from Walker and 2 from Kepler. Oh, man. Could you imagine me having to watch Kepler pitch? That's it. Kepler might just be the left-handed arm in the bullpen. That's what you needed. Oh. All right. So that's happening right now. Jeez. Really bothers me. Those people, I know, B-Gun, and I know you work with someone. He's on vacation, so I'm not going to take a shot at John while John's not here to respond, but he's a big keep Abel guy. This is why he's available. This is why he should be available to be moved. He's got a lot of growing to do as a major league pitcher. You can like the stuff, but also realize right now he cannot be, for a contributor, someone you bank on in the postseason. That's it. That's right. That's all I got in terms of the Phillies stuff. Okay? That's all I got. I'm going to relax now. All right, we open up today's show, jumping in at 610-632-0975, asking people, does concern over Bryce Harper's health at all change the direction you want the Phillies to go at the deadline? It does not change mine. Brendan Gunn, we've been doing radio together for 4 hours. And I think I know where you stand on this, but I want to be sure I know how you stand on this. It does not change yours at all either, right?
No, I mean, what else are you going to do? The alternative is go out there and sell, and why would I do that? This team was built to win now. Whether they're good enough to go out there and do it, it remains to be seen. But their best shot is to go out there and try to be buyers. I think 75% of Bryce Harper is better than a lot of other options. So I can't complain about that. Schwarber in the lineup, Cassie in the lineup. Like, you still have a lot of good bats that have came through for you when it matters the most. Obviously not till the very end, but we have playoff guys on this team that are proven. Bryce Harper is going to be fine. He's going to go out there and be 75%, which is fine to me. And he said he's better than that. So if people want to be sellers at the deadline, that's just asinine to me.
Sellers, no. Less aggressive, though. Would you be?
No. This is your shot. The window still has a little bit of a crack in it. It's not time to turn the page and go out there and say, you know what, let's hope for a better tomorrow. Last I checked, Harper's still going to be here for 10 years. If you don't have faith in him when he's still coming in his prime or going forward, we don't even know what's going on with his wrist. So your better shot is this year opposed to the years down the line. Trey Turner still going to be here. Obviously, you have some moves you got to make going forward with Schwarber, Cassie, and all those guys. But a lot of this core is still signed on for a long time. You may not be able to go out there and win with some of these young guys in your lineup in the next 3-4 years mixed with these older guys. Like, I still think your best shot to win is this year. And the next one it's the current year until the next one. And then it's just closing more slow. But
we're aligned here.
Yeah.
I do want to let you know, check out the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get 2 single-day wristbands for the price of one at the Funplex in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. You'll enjoy unlimited access to indoor and outdoor rides, the Splashplex, water park, 1-hour bowling, and $5 arcade card. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 97.5thefanatic.com/deals. Yeah, we were both aligned on that one. I think the overall tone of the show with the Phillies, and this will be something interesting. I think tomorrow we have Amy Fadul. I'm going to be interested to see how she feels as someone that has lived in the load management world with Joel Embiid and covering the Sixers so consistently, and seeing, whether it be Paul George, whether it be some of these older players, someone that just has lived again in the NBA load management world for so long, listening to the idea of Harper having off days. I'll be interested to see her perspective on that and what she feels about that, and also a couple of Sixers, I'm going to geek out a little bit with that backcourt, the dynamic. I know Brandon Gunn tomorrow will be producing the show, just totally lost in that, but looking forward to that tomorrow. Now, I'm sneaking something in the last 5 minutes here because I fear that it will get me crushed. We've talked a lot on this show how I always have I don't watch anything because I'm a massive sports fan, right? Like, people like, you haven't seen this TV show? Like, I haven't seen Breaking Bad. I've seen episodes here and there. I haven't seen all the way through. I haven't seen Mobland's one that I know Mike and Bill were watching together. And, well, not together. They were watching it and reacting together to it. I'm not breaking any news about them hanging out at night watching Mobland together on the couch. That's not what I'm saying. But shows like that, like Brandon Gunn, like the pop culture, like dramas on television. Like, I've seen a number of sitcoms, but I haven't seen a number of the big dramas that people talk about. Like, I always say I don't do dragons. What's the Game of Thrones? I haven't seen that either.
What do you...
No. And my thing is usually I like to go out, or I love a good West Coast baseball game.
What do you do when, I guess you just answered the question. I said, what do you do when the Phillies get rained out?
Right.
West Coast games?
Well,
other teams' games?
So they got rained out yesterday. And I'm not proud to say this, but I had curiosity. And now I'll put it to you this way. I like to, what people are talking about in pop culture, I give it if it's something I could give a chance to help me in my conversation with people I'll meet out, I'll give it a chance. Like, for example, I refer to it more as like watching tape. Like, new Taylor Swift album comes out. I know when I'm out and I'm around people, there are going to be people that are intrigued by that. Specific people that will be intrigued by it. So I usually give it a little listen so I have a talking point, So I had seen recently, my timeline, and various other apps I might be on, that this Love Island thing had become a craze. So naturally, I had to give it a little look to see what it is. I have never watched it before. I've done some of these terrible reality shows before. During COVID, that was like a big thing that got me through, of really wow, these people are crazy. And it kind of makes you forget the craziness that you're going through. I feel wrong because I have not watched so many of the great drama shows that we talk about, or the great movies, or the great other entertainment platforms, things that we've talked about before. And I've become hooked. I am now watching it, to catch up.
You were talking to me yesterday. You're locked in. You have opinions. Like, some guy, for the audience, Ray was screaming in this producer studio about this guy that it was like a construction guy. No. The Austin dynamic with Chelly is driving me nuts. Honestly, that the fact that even there's a consideration those two would make a match for one another is ridiculous. There is a number of things about this show that's absolutely ridiculous. That I have takes.
No, I legitimately have takes now on this.
Can you explain what the show's all about? Like, I get it. You go on an island.
Yeah. Bunch of hot people get together on an island, and they try and match you up, and one couple wins.
But they're all hooking up with each other. Like, how could you look a girl in the eye after you know she was just with somebody else the next day?
And that's part of the intrigue for me. I'm like, well, this guy now has to get over this. She has to get over that. It's hilarious a little bit. Like, it's funny. It's a funny dynamic to watch. And I got a text from another Tim I work with different Tim work with at Temple that was like, if you're going to tell me you're watching one of these like Love is Blind shows or something like that, I'm going to lose it. I'm sorry. So I think I know the answer you're going to give to me. But is it a violation to me for not having watched any of the great TV shows and now using this as my TV time?
100%, dude.
Okay.
How have you not watched Breaking Bad? You haven't watched Game of Thrones, even though it fell off and sucked at the end. You're going to devote your time every single night to this Love Island show that has a new episode every night, and you're going to get locked in? What, are you going to watch the Phillies and then get a bag of popcorn and tuck yourself in and watch Love Island every night?
See, now that's the thing. And I've got it on the, MBD said, Ray, I would point out, you don't have to say everything. There are certain things you have to keep to yourself. I'm just being honest, all right? I have to be open and honest with our audience. This is my truth on this one. I've watched it. I'm kind of in.
Are you in going forward?
As in for the rest of this season? Yeah.
No, as in for when there's a new season?
I don't know. Yeah, it depends. It depends the stage of life I'm in. Because I said, I usually check these things out. It's like watching tape because it's things that, you're going to have to talk about at some point. Like, you're going to, you run into someone. If I run into a woman who's big into Love Island.
It could work out.
Yeah. Then I guess I would be stuck in watching it forever. So maybe it's a double-edged sword for me. I just watch it as a nice little conversation starter, But it's a violation. I assume that everyone has taken the attack.
It has to be.
There was no Phils last night. What am I supposed to do?
Like that matters. You've been watching for the past couple of nights anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I figured I could upset our entire audience here in the last 5 minutes of the show and tell you that you got to come back tomorrow. Come on. It'll be Amy Fadul and I hanging out. Brendan Gunn will be back with us. B. Gunn, thank you for a great show today. Appreciate hanging out with you. And tomorrow we'll be able to react to this doubleheader that I have a bad feeling about. I feel like Mick Abel's going to be a talking point tomorrow. I just have a strong feeling of it, considering I had such a reaction to watching in the last half hour what I had to watch with him. I don't understand those of you that just want to hold on to someone because there might be something. He might be something, but he is going to get you something now, something more that you need now. Also, probably going to talk a little bit more about the Harper health situation. Obviously, with Stark saying he's going to take some days off. I think most people today were on board, but we'll have to react to that. But I got that all for you tomorrow. We got all that coming up for you tomorrow. As for right now, coming up at 2 o'clock, Unfiltered, it will be Ricky Bowe, Bill Colarulo, and Silvana Kelleher coming your way. I'm Ray Dunn. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me here today on the Mike Missanelli Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.